our dog, who's a very sweet dog, but she's a very affectionate dog. And we made the mistake of when she was young and cute and we liked her, of letting her sleep in the bed. And she has taken that to mean not just that, but like, I've had dogs, I'll let sleep in the bed, but they sleep down at the foot of the bed. You know what I mean? Not this dog. This dog wants to put her head on the pillow and be right in the middle of us, which is very annoying most of the time. So last night, the lady friend and I are like, we gotta untrain the dog. We gotta get the dog out of here. Like, the dog can't sleep in the bed anymore because she does this thing where she puts her back against me and then she puts her leg against the missus, and she does like a whole big stretch, the big stretch. Except for by the end of the night when we wake up in the morning.
So she's not a poodle.
No, I mean, she's only like 25 pounds. She's not a big dog, but she's not a small dog either. And so by the end of the night, we wake up, I'm on like this much of the edge of the bed. The wife is 4 feet away from me on this much of and then there's a 25-pound dog that is commandeered like the middle, legitimately 60% of the bed. And then she likes to sleep under. She's got she got that wolf in her. She likes to sleep under the blanket till it gets too hot. Then she wants to be out of the blanket, but then it gets cold, so she'll go back. She'll do this like 9 times a night. So I told the wife, I'm like, no, dog's got to go back to sleeping on her. We got her this nice luxury, like memory foam dog bed down on the ground.
Wait, they make memory foam dog beds?
Yeah, and if you're not giving your dog memory foam, be a better owner.
Do you think they know the difference?
I don't know if they do, but I do. And I felt bad because whatever. So we're going to make her go back to sleeping on the floor. She did not like that last night. Sat at the edge of the bed and whined for hours. I'm working on probably a solid 1 hour of uninterrupted sleep from last night.
Yeah, I could tell.
It's rough today.
Lots of typos.
Yeah, it's rough today. All right. But I don't know what that was.
That was too much power and other stuff directly into the microphone.
A lot of channeled rage going into that one. But it is Monday. We are here. We slap the Play Like a Champion Today sign, and we rock and roll through the next 4 hours of sports talk entertainment. Let's get to it. Pretty good. Not pretty good. Good weekend of picking NFL games for me. Got one wrong. Got the Texans-Chargers game wrong. The Chargers fell apart. And my thought at the end of that game is, wasn't Jim Harbaugh's whole thing, wasn't his whole entire thing that he was going to run like a well-oiled, disciplined machine of a football program? They melted. That was bad. They just flat out and entirely melted down, and then C.J. Stroud took advantage. It was all Chargers out of the gate. All Chargers out of the gate. Chargers drive down on the opening drive, can't punch it in, get a field goal, but the drive went really well till the red zone. Turn around, C.J. Stroud and the Texans have the ball for one play and turn it back over. Chargers can't score again, get the field goal, 6-0, and I'm sitting there going, I'm in good shape here. I had a fraternity brother that I have not seen in legitimately 15 years text me. He's like, hey, dog, how you been? I'm in Asheville. I'm like, yo, cool, all right, word, I'm coming up. So Saturday night I drove up there. I'm listening to the game in the car on the way up to Asheville. And as I'm listening to the game, I pulled into where I was meeting him in Asheville Saturday night, right after the second Chargers field goal. It's 6-0. I'm like, they didn't score a touchdown, but law of average is going to catch up, and the Texans got nothing going. And then I hung out with him for a couple of hours. We did some stuff around Asheville, hit a couple of breweries and whatnot. And then I got back in the car to come back with 2 minutes in the game, and I pop in because my plan was that I was going to watch yesterday. I was going to watch the replay of the two Saturday games. I not the replay. I watched the first game live, but watched the replay of Chargers-Texans yesterday afternoon. So I really wasn't worried about missing it because I knew I was going to rewatch it yesterday. I get back in the car and they're like, 32. Where did 32 come from? And the answer was Texans threw the ball around a little bit. C.J. Stroud looked like a dog again, right? This is why I tell people when you are watching sports, when you are analyzing sports, don't ever take the best performance and assign that as reality, but don't take the worst and assign that to reality. The truth about what a player or a team or a coach is the average of everything. And if you average what C.J. Stroud did last year and you average what that Texans team looked like this year, and you take into consideration the nuance of the number of injuries, the fact that Stephon Diggs went down early in the season and was unavailable, the fact that Nico and Tank have been banged up for this team, C.J. Stroud ain't done. I've been saying that for weeks. He ain't done. He's still a good quarterback, and he showed you that a little bit. And then Saturday, a team kind of lit it up. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the fact that the Packers were exactly what I told you were. A good team, but they ain't there yet. They were never on the level with the Eagles. I told you that going in. Like, this is a team that had 2 wins against playoff teams. It was 2 of the longer odds to win the Super Bowl playoff teams. And there was never really a threat from the Packers. Like, the Eagles did the Eagles look special to you in that game? They weren't doing anything special. No. Give the ball to Saquon, let him cook. They didn't look special to me. The Packers couldn't get to Jalen Hurts. I don't care who you give. If it's an NFL caliber quarterback and you're giving that guy that touchdown pass he had in the first quarter, he had 7 literal actual seconds to throw the football. I don't care who you got back there. You give any NFL quarterback 7 seconds to throw the football, touchdown. Like, most of the time, that's how it's going to go. The Packers just weren't ready. Now, that's a team that I think could be a good team in the future moving forward. But they just weren't there yet. What did I tell you was going to be the reason that I believe the Washington Commanders would beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last night? Do you recall last Friday when I said it's going to come down to some late game quarterback magic, because that's just what these two teams are?
That's not what happened.
That's not what happened?
It was not. It was Baker Mayfield fumbled.
Yeah, and then what happened?
Well,
and then Jaden Daniels took them 65 yards back the other way, including a third down conversion to get them in a field goal range.
I think it was 65.
It wasn't 65, but he took them down.
I think it was more like 15.
They were not in field goal range. They were up against the third down. Mm-hmm. Jaden Daniels made something happen to get him into field goal range.
Yeah, this was a back and forth game.
The team I said it would be.
Team that made the mistake. You talked about other people not looking special. Jaden Daniels did not look special. He just looked like an NFL quarterback.
Dog.
Just looked like a normal NFL quarterback. They're all good. That's why they're in the NFL. And that defense for Tampa Bay made a big stand down on the goal line, get the ball back, and then Baker fumbled a handoff. That was the game right there. If he doesn't fumble that handoff, then they drive down, they get a field goal or a touchdown, and they win the game.
They had a long way to go to get there, but I'm not saying you're wrong. What I am saying is that game, I said on Friday, was going to come down to late game quarterback play. And the reality, and for the record, I don't want to put it all on Baker Mayfield. The whole offense was busted on the handoff fumble. And then even when they had an opportunity, they also had a misfire on a run play too. Like the center snapped the ball a count early, and Baker turned around to hand it off, and like the running back was still just standing. Like, that Tampa Bay team just was out of sorts for sure. That Tampa Bay team was just out of sorts. But you still had to have
enjoy it while you can. Next week they get destroyed.
They are 8.5-point dogs in this game against the Detroit Lions. 8.5
for now.
touchdowns.
You think that stays?
I think it's going to hover around there because I think a lot of people, and it's maybe not you, but I think a lot of people, and I know I am one of them. I think this game can get very interesting, and I'll tell you why. Detroit lost another player this past week, this time because they had a defensive back get popped for a DUI and knocked off the team. So now they're down another guy. They don't have Hutch. They have, one of their day one starting defensive linemen available to them. Now, they do have a former Pro Bowler that they added to the mix, but not a day one starter
he's
technically.
He's been out like the entire season, though.
Since week 3 or 4.
Yeah, so I don't know why you're even counting now.
Because this team, the Detroit Lions, this team has a good but not great pass rush without Hutch. A good but not great pass rush. And what does Tampa Bay have? A good pass rush. But you didn't see it yesterday because this is to me. I am going to put Jayden Daniels here. Jayden Daniels, to me, might be the third best under pressure quarterback in the NFL today. That's how good this guy has played. I think there's a lot of quarterbacks, including Jared Goff and Matt Stafford, that I would put. I might put Jalen Hurts in this conversation. I think there's a lot of good quarterbacks that if you put them in the position Jayden Daniels was in against Tampa Bay yesterday, I think there's a lot of good quarterbacks that if you put them in the position that Jayden Daniels was yesterday, fall apart on you a little bit. Jayden Daniels didn't. I think when I am going to put him as I'll say fourth best under pressure quarterback in the NFL today. I put him behind Mahomes, Jackson, Allen. I don't know if name me another quarterback that you think is better under an actual amount of pressure. And I'm not talking pressure like with the game on the line, although I could because he did that again. That's all this team has done is gut out last minute wins. But I'm talking against a good, effective pass rush. Name me quarterbacks that aren't Mahomes, Allen, or Jackson that you think are better under pressure against the rush than Jayden Daniels right now. Because I'm trying to think of one, and I ain't got one. It's those three. It's those three like top-notch dogs, like the three dogs, Allen, Mahomes, and Jackson. And then I think, under pressure, Jayden Daniels is next. That dude last night was up against a Todd Bowles blitz fest. That's a high blitz pressure team in Tampa Bay, and it doesn't show up in the stats. You wouldn't know it. Jayden Daniels was good under pressure all the way down to the final buzzer. And by the way, Tampa Bay is a good team. This is not me poo-pooing Tampa Bay. It's a good team. I think Jayden Daniels is him. I don't think I told you going into the draft, Jayden Daniels was him. I told you going into the draft. Wesley says Joe Burrow. Under pressure, like a good, consistent pass rush, I might give you Joe Burrow in that discussion.
Okay, what kind of pass rush did Jayden Daniels deal with during the season?
Well, I mean,
from who?
Well, he played 17 games.
Yeah, I know, but from his own
from
division?
the Dallas Cowboys and Micah Parsons. You're dismissing Micah Parsons?
I'm dismissing Dallas.
I'm not
entirely.
I agree, but Dallas under Micah Parsons front seven is good.
One guy. Who else is on that team?
The entire Philadelphia Eagles front seven. I mean, again, you're asking for 17 games spread out across the entire season. I'm talking about this opponent. Last night, Tampa Bay, one of the highest blitz rate teams in the NFL, and it does not show up on the stat sheet. That's because of Jayden Daniels.
They struggle with a team from the South. I mean, from the NFC South. Come on. I mean, it was a compelling game.
They're still NFL teams.
It was two evenly matched teams. There was nothing that stood out in the entire game. It came down to a mistake. I mean, he's all right. He's not what you're making him out to be. He could be. He has potential.
Can I ask you a genuine question? I'm asking you this genuinely. Because with Allen, with Jackson, like, I don't think outside of Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, I don't think you have handed out a superlative to a quarterback in the NFL this year. outside of Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield, I don't think I've heard you hand out a superlative to a quarterback this year.
I don't think any quarterback's play has stood out. I haven't said anything a superlative about Patrick Mahomes either. I mean, he's had a good year. He has a great team. There is no quarterback that, oh my God, this is so great. Josh Allen playing like he normally does.
At an MVP level.
Yeah. I mean, whatever that means. To me, if you can't win in the playoffs and you can't win the Super Bowl, you're MVP of what? The regular season.
Can't
Way to go.
I can't wait for my flag to get here.
MVP
like
of the regular season. Yeah. And it's not true though.
That wins and losses aren't a quarterback
Yeah,
stat?
it's not true.
Well,
they are because because sports media has declared it so, other than you, and
they're dumb.
En masse.
And they're wrong.
They have declared it. So once again, you're being a contrarian.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why Brad Johnson is a Hall of Famer, because he won a Super Bowl. He said, hang the banner, hang the jersey.
We weren't talking about Hall of Fame. We're talking about MVP.
Should have won the MVP that year. He won in the playoffs in the Super Bowl. Should have been MVP.
Who was the MVP that year?
I don't freaking know. That was like 2001.
You know what you do know? You know what you do know? You know who won the Super Bowl. You don't know who won the MVP.
I know who won the
That's
Super Bowl.
how unimportant it is.
I know who won the Super Bowl because it has been a running joke for years that Brad Johnson should be considered in the elite.
Who won the
because he got a
MVP
ring.
5 years ago? Who won the MVP 12 years ago? Who won the MVP 37 years ago?
I don't care.
Exactly.
I don't care.
Thank you.
I care about who wins it this year because this is the year we're talking about.
Okay. All right.
All right. We're going to talk a lot about that. We got to talk wild card games. I'll have your Fan Upstate text line poll question of the day coming up in the next segment. We're talking NFL playoffs and college football national championship 1 week away. The Ohio State University Buckeyes are headed back to take on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And boy, howdy, I think it's going to be a slugfest. Let's talk some college football coming up on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Ooh, a Rich Eisen promo. How about that?
Yeah, one played when you walked in the room and you sit down.
I wasn't listening.
Okay, go just down. Where are you, man? Welcome to your new account. I didn't need a new account. So dumb.
Oh, what's our poll question of the day today, Lonzo? Did you come up with one yet?
Still working on it.
I forgot to put one. I forgot to think of one today. Let's put those two things together, shall we? At the 2024/25 Bourbon and Bacon Fest, we had to reschedule. That just gave us more time to make it bigger and better than ever before. It is January 17th at the Foundry at Judson Mill. You are going to be able to sample craft bourbons from around the country. You are going to be able to sample bacon-centric dishes from some of the most talented culinary artists in the upstate, and you're doing it all for a good cause. As Bourbon and Bacon Fest benefits Carolina Adaptive Golf, an incredible organization we're happy to be partnered with. Here's what I want you to do. Go to bourbonandbaconfest.com.
Yeah, that's what I thought. The old one still works. The new one, when I click on it to set my password, says invalid password. It will not let me put in a password.
Checks out.
Along the way. Find the Ingles Table at ingles-markets.com or swing by the store and pick up your free copy of the Ingles Table magazine. And let's get cooking. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest. The last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
Designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind.
What do you mean count out the Ravens? I'm not counting out the Ravens. Not when Derrick Henry is running like a freight train. I thought Derrick Henry murdered a man. But I thought Mika Fitzpatrick was going to have to retire immediately.
Ravens are going to boat race next week. The way they play compared to how Buffalo played, Ravens.
Buffalo put up.
If I was ever going to
32?
put money on something, which I'm not because I don't, but if I did, I would put it on how badly the Ravens are going to beat Buffalo.
I wouldn't bet that.
Buffalo probably shouldn't even show up. I mean, it's going to be so bad.
Oh, that's right. I do need to pull up all my hater clips.
There should be a thing ready for pointing out how Josh Allen can't get the thing done, but they won't because he's beloved by the media. So, you can't. It's frowned upon if you say anything bad about Josh Allen. Oh my gosh, you're a pariah. I might as well change my middle name to Pariah, but then it would be a problem because I use my middle name on the air. So I'll just change my first name to Pariah because I hate that first name. So I'm now Pariah Alonzo Reitzel. Has a ring to it. I'm gonna give me some Pariah shirts. I don't know what's a pariah look like. I guess it would just be a picture of me. I mean,
it's an abject concept.
Yeah, I know. So it would just be a picture of me. See, if I go to forgot password page, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to lose access to the other thing. And I need the other thing on Saturday. And the only reason why I look at the text line here, as I pointed out, is for the things that you ignore that are positive about me. And there are a lot of things that are positive about me. Rob's not positive about me today, but probably not Friday or Thursday.
I don't know how we're
Tuesday
talking about a quarterback who had a
Wednesday.
no turnover, no punt game with 260 plus yards and some touchdowns.
Oh,
and we're just
there's
calling him
a
average.
real reason for all that. A real reason. And it was caught on camera, but it has been ignored.
All right, here's your Twitter poll question. Actually, you know what? It starts at 6:30, so I'll give you it at the end of this
It's
segment.
not a Twitter poll.
I mean, text poll.
Okay,
Your text poll question of the day. I will give it to you coming up in about 6 minutes because I scheduled it to start at 6:30 because I wasn't paying attention. So that's on me. So you'll get that poll question coming up in about 6 minutes, 5.5 minutes from right now. All right.
So you're not going to tease them with what it is?
I know, just that it's coming up. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. I will tease it. I will say this. This is a question that if you participate, will allow you to have a voice into what the future of this show sounds like. I know, very dramatic and very important.
No, people, you're not getting rid of me.
That is not the poll question of the day. It will have an impact on what the voice of the show is moving forward. So I'll give you that poll question coming up at the end of this segment.
So you'll start speaking in NPR from now on? So it's about, you said the voice. So it's what voice you're using going forward?
I did get told yesterday there was a Swamp Rabbit game at the crib. And, I walk around during these games. And every now and then, someone is kind enough to come up and say hello and say I listen to the show and all that. And it's great. I was talking to a fan Sunday, Mike.
Sounds right.
It was like 16 hours ago. Mike, we're going to go Mike. And Mike, you know who I'm talking about.
Wow, you mean yesterday? You talked to someone
Yeah.
yesterday. Okay.
A long time ago. I was talking to Mike, and very nice guy, Mike. He said, I listen to the show regularly, but I do have to turn it off sometimes. And I was like, oh, not a wrestling guy, huh? Because that's usually the complaint I get when somebody says, I got to turn it off every now and then. It's usually like whenever you nerds talk wrestling. And it's like, all right, it's not for everybody. I get it. And he said, no. He said, that's not it. And I said, what is it? And he said, I listened to you for like the last hour of the show. I listened to you in the morning getting ready and headed to work, but I listened to you in the office for the last hour of the show. And I said, that's awesome. And he goes, yeah, but you get a little loud for an insurance adjuster's office. And I was like, checks out, bud. Checks out. Completely checks out, pal. So Yeah, maybe the last hour of the show we do the NPR voice from now on, so we can keep Mike listening to the show. But I do appreciate it, Mike. I do appreciate it. All right, let's look at the NFL Wild Card Weekend. I will tell you that we'll be doing a lot of college football national championship game, obviously, coming up later on in the show. Here's what we know so far. Over in the AFC, teams 1, 2, 3, and 4 have all moved on. The 2 bottom tier seeds, the Chargers, 3 bottom tier seeds, the Chargers, the Steelers, and the Broncos, all 3 road teams lost. And frankly, all 3 road teams got dismantled in round 1. 32-12, Chargers fall to the Texans, 28-14 in a game that really wasn't that close. Ravens, Steelers, and 31-7, Bills over the Broncos in Orchard Park, Buffalo, New York. 1, 2, 3, 4 move on. None of the road teams, which of course means that the Chargers, Steelers, and Broncos didn't deserve to go. If that's what the college fan base is trying to tell me. But okay, sarcastic and unnecessary joke there. 1, 2, 3, 4 move on, meaning the Texans are on the road at Kansas City. I wish you the best of luck, CJ. The Bills and the Ravens will play in Buffalo. That game is on the 19th at 6:30. On the 18th at 4:30 in the afternoon, because Chiefs are favored by 7.5 in that game on the 18th, Saturday the 18th at 4:30. Over in the NFC, the Detroit Lions caught the bye. They get the lowest remaining seed, which we now know is going to be either the Commanders, as tonight's game is the 4-5 matchup between the Rams and the Vikings. The winner of that game will be on the road at Philadelphia coming up in round 2. Lions Commanders is the afternoon game. It will follow Chiefs Texans on Saturday. The Sunday NFC game at 3 p.m. is the Eagles, and the winners of tonight's Rams Vikings game. The Sunday nighter will be the Bills and the Ravens. So, with that being said, of the wild card teams that are moving on, the Texans, the Bills, the Ravens, the Commanders, the Eagles, and we do obviously still have one team TBD waiting on tonight's contest. Which of those teams impressed you the most in round 1? Which of those teams looks like they are the biggest danger?
I was going to say, because impressed, I think that's the wrong word, because obviously the Texans impressed because people didn't expect them to do what they did.
I mean, not just win, but
that was impressive.
And by the way, didn't let them that team could have rolled over a little bit after the first quarter of that game. By the way, did every first quarter suck? Seriously. Did every first quarter of all of these games kind of suck a little bit?
Denver would say the first quarter was amazing.
It's fair. We were 6-0 Chargers after 1. It was 7-0 Baltimore after 1. It was 7-3 Denver over Buffalo after 1. It was 3-0 Tampa after 1. And it was 10-0 Philly after 1. But Green Bay looked like crap.
That's a decent amount of scoring for the first quarter.
This is not awful.
Across the entire league. That's not bad.
All right. So which wild card team, if any of them, which wild card team looks like the biggest danger to the 2-1 seeds? I don't think it's the Texans. Is it the Bills or the Ravens out of the AFC?
One of the two, yeah.
No, I'm asking like which one of the two.
Oh, the Ravens.
I think I agree with you. I'm a Josh Allen guy, but I'm also a Lamar Jackson guy.
Well, it's not about Lamar. I mean, because if it was just Lamar versus, although the quarterbacks don't play each other, there is a running back for Baltimore. That's the difference.
My dude, James Cook put up, $120? I mean, he ain't Derrick Henry, but I'm not going to let you sit here and pretend like James Cook didn't go $120 and a tutty. And honestly, $120 and a tutty, and probably had 1 or 2 more that coulda, shoulda, woulda gone on the board. I mean, listen, I'm agreeing with you. Derrick Henry, King Henry, is absolutely him. Derrick Henry had a $186. Lamar added 81 more. I believe, if I recall correctly, it is the highest ever total rushing yards for a quarterback running back duo in the playoffs. They're very good. But what I'm not going to do is sit here and pretend like Buffalo didn't have a rushing attack when they put up 210. The 210 rushing yards against the Broncos, a $120 from James Cook, 46 from Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson, by the way, 81, as we mentioned just a second ago. I don't know. I agree with you so that we're clear. The Ravens feel like the bigger threat right now because the Ravens feel like with Derrick Henry running this well, the Ravens do feel like 3rd and 2's a gimme at this point, right? Like feels like with Derrick Henry back there, 3rd and 2's a layup. 3rd and 2's a layup. I
don't agree with the narrative that Kansas City's been off for 3 weeks, so they're going to be so rusty. I
don't either because, again, like
they're a well-coached team.
That's part of it. At the end of the day, as we've said before, like when you are timing and chemistry predicated, when your offense relies on, but it's the thing, the Chiefs' offense is not like it's mislabeled this way very frequently. The Chiefs' offense is not based on timing and precision and all that. The Chiefs' offense is based on solid fundamentals, good executed game plan, and improvisation as much as anything else. Sincerely. Like improvisation. The Ravens isn't either, though. The Ravens is predicated. And here's the thing. You said, the quarterbacks don't play each other and you're not letting. I agree with that. I want you to go back and watch the 2 really long Derrick Henry runs, including that 44-yarder that he broke off. If you watch those 2 plays, there is something happening. And Zach's in the chat right now, and I'm on the live stream, facebook.com/thefanupstate, the Fan Upstate on YouTube, the Rob Brown Show on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. If you want to come hang out and watch the show live today. Zach said, I don't know how you stop that read option. I want you to go back and watch that 44-yarder that Derrick Henry broke off for the tutty and watch Lamar Jackson on that play. Because what happens is, and it's they run this with so much efficiency. Lamar takes the snap. He puts it to Derrick Henry. And they are so good at keeping that handoff low, right? Watch where that ball's handed off. Ordinarily, it's up around the chest, right? It's up in this area. It's up around the top of the number. They are so good at keeping that down. And why do they do that? So that ball is hidden from linebackers. If you put it up here in the chest and those linebackers can see it, obviously they got a hint. Am I attacking the running back or the quarterback? They hand that ball off, and it's such a good, effective low handoff that linebackers are screaming on both Henry touchdowns. You know why the lane was there? Because the filling linebacker saw Lamar Jackson take off, and he just runs with him. Sight unseen, don't know if he's got the ball. He just goes with him, and it vacates the area for Derrick Henry. The Ravens are so bleeping good at that I don't think there's a team that can stop it at this point. The only question is, can you go toe-to-toe putting up points with the Ravens? And the answer for the Steelers was obviously not. Russell Wilson, by the way, 20 of 29, 270 and a pair of tutties. Not a bad day for him. Bad day for everybody else. 29 rushing yards. Yeesh. All right, talking a lot of NFL in hour number 1. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. Be right back, guys. Give me just a second. Do.
The college football playoff continuing tonight. The Cotton Bowl at AT&T Stadium has Texas against Ohio State. The winner will move on to the national championship in Atlanta January 20th, or will take on Notre Dame. The Irish defeated Penn State.
Up to the minute upstate traffic. There are no significant traffic issues in the upstate at this early morning hour. It's a 34-minute drive on 85 between Greenville and Spartanburg. Be aware that road work may cause delays on Edwards Road just south of Wade Hampton. And Aiken Chapel Road is closed between Riverside Drive and St. Mark Road. From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Traffic Center, I'm Bill Brooks on the Fan Upstate.
That chronic joint pain that so many of you have decided is your new normal, I have news. It is not normal. So make the decision to get moving again in 2025 and make your new normal a pain-free life with QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine and joint preservation. Yes, you can revitalize your joints with advanced orthobiologic treatments at QC Kinetics, and you can do it with no drugs, no surgery. It is the future of medicine, using natural solutions to attack pain caused by arthritis or old sports injuries. Tens of thousands of people have utilized these cellular treatments to take their life back without the constant pain that some of you have normalized. So if you'd like to learn more about doing the same thing, call QC Kinetics for a free consultation today. Deal with your joint pain now so you can enjoy the new year. Call 864-448-3772 in Greenville and Asheville. 864-448-3772. 864-448-3772. It's QC Kinetics.
It's better over here. If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has an exclusive rate plan just for you. Right now, get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings versus Verizon and AT&T. Plus, you can get one of the latest 5G phones free when you add a line. That's right, a free 5G phone. Experience
My hate for Carson Beck is greater than my love for Miami. That's intense. Why, Zach?
I'm Chuck Sanders. Here's the Sports Blast presented by Progressive. Men's college hoops tonight. Furman battles Wofford. It's 7 o'clock.
Okay, so that's right. How did he put the wrong one in?
I'm Chuck Sanders.
Sports Blast from Friday played.
Presented by
Oh.
Progressive. The Anaheim Ducks beat the Carolina Hurricanes 3-2 in overtime on Sunday.
I'm trying to see what he did, see if any of these are old. So far, they're
I'm
fine.
Chuck Sanders. Here's the Sports Blast presented by Progressive. The college football national championship game is set. It'll be
Yeah,
17
it was old.
game battling-
It was talking about Friday night.
Right now, come on, go! Let's go to the punk rock show!
That was rock and roll. I was right. Let's go to the punk rock show.
No, that was somebody else's bed.
Let's go to the punk rock show.
Yeah, that sounds like something that's not supposed to be in there. I'll have to have a talk with them. Plus, you shouldn't have things with lyrics on it behind. That's not our standard here. So,
Cowboy Mouse coming.
Yeah,
Speaking of punk rock shows,
I heard about. I
Wanna go?
saw your thing. No,
it's a what? Why? Oh, Bit Brigade's coming back too. The video game punk
that's more
fans.
interesting to me.
Oh, dude, it's great. All right, here's our Twitter poll question of the day.
By the way, I know Cowboy Mouth is your favorite, but
Best rock and roll show
all right,
you'll
all
ever
right.
go to.
Does that look like a place where I'd be comfortable?
No, it is just mass humanity all loving each other. It is just a bro fest. It's the best.
Yeah, exactly.
You cannot have a bad time, which means you would be very happy while you stand against the wall with your arms crossed.
Standing's not a good thing for me right now.
No, that's fair.
So,
That's fair.
I mean,
You are coming back off the injury wagon. All right, here's your Twitter poll question. Nope, your text line poll question the day. Football season ends in just a couple of weeks. We have the College Football National Championship on Monday. Then we put NCAA football to bed. We have the divisional round. We have the championship round. We have 1 week off, and then we have the Super Bowl. So we are effectively 4 weeks away from the end of football season. A little early for this, but I'll ask the question anyway. When football season is over, what sport would you want to get the most attention on the show after that? Here are your options: baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, off-season football, or other. Those are the options. You will text to start your text. 844-326-3663 is both the text line number and the call-in number. Text 844-326-3663 and start your text with basketball, baseball, hockey, soccer, football, which is, we pretty much keep it where it is. Off-season football is the predominant conversation, or other. And if you vote other, put the sport that you think should get the most time behind that vote. 844-326-3663. When football ends in just a touch over a month after the Super Bowl, what sport do you believe should get increased coverage on the show? Text 844-326-3663 with baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, football, if you think the answer is just stay with football and talk off-season football, or other, and include your vote after the word other. Start your text with whichever word you think. If you believe it is football, text football. If you believe it is baseball, text baseball. If you believe it is soccer, text soccer. If you believe it's hockey, text hockey. If you think there is a sport I did not list that you think should jump to the top, text other and put your word under it or your reason why. All right, we got a lot of stuff we're going to keep getting to, including more coverage of the NFL's wild card weekend. We are getting into college football in the next hour of the radio broadcast. We have talked already and asked the question, which wild card team do you think is more important? But here's the thing. There was a report that was filed by CBS Sports' Jonathan Jones, which jumped up to the big-time discussion around the sportosphere yesterday. Here is what Jonathan Jones said on the CBS Sports pregame show.
JB, 3 games this week featuring teams with better records than their opponents, but playing on the road, including the one that we have coming up in an hour. Now, the NFL will take another look this offseason at potentially changing the playoff format. Maybe top 4 teams in win percentage get a home game instead of division winners. Team owners haven't shown much of an appetite for changing, though.
So we could, according to Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports, we could see a restructuring of the NFL playoff format that would still see the 4 divisional winners get in, the 3 wild card winners get in, but the division winners would not be guaranteed a home game. The format shift would see the top winning percentage teams host. That would mean that if these things played out, if this weekend played out the way that it looked like it would have with a format change, you would have still seen Buffalo host. You would have still seen Baltimore host. You would have seen, however, the San Diego Chargers with 11 wins host the Los Angeles. It's only been like 6 years. What do you want? All right. I'm new to this. You would have seen the Chargers hosting the Texans. You would have seen over in the NFC, the Vikings as a 14-win team. The only team they would have gone on the road to would have been Detroit if they got lined up that way. So we would reseed based on record. Tampa Bay would have, instead of being at the crib taking on the Commanders, Tampa Bay would have been on the road at Washington, by way of Washington being 12-5, Tampa being 10-7. Where do we land on this? Because I've kicked this back and forth. The gut check reaction that I had, great one, was there should be a reward for winning the division. But the counter argument to that is there is. You're in the playoffs. You can be a 10-win Tampa Bay team and go to the playoffs alongside the 14-win Eagles, the 12-win Commanders, the 15-win Lions, the 14-win Vikings, the 11-win Packers. You can be 10-7 and go to the playoffs if you're the best team in the division, and that's the reward. Should there be a reward past that? Should you be, for winning the division, should you be rewarded with a home game when winning the NFC South took the same record that would have placed you 4th in the NFC North? It would have placed you 3rd in the NFC East. It would have won you in the NFC West. But it would have placed you dead last in 2 of the 4 NFC divisions. Should there be the reward of a home game for being effectively, if you look at win percentage, that would have made Tampa Bay the 6th best team in the NFC, but they ended up getting a home game. And had they won that game, they would have still had to go on the road, they won that game. There is a chance they could have gotten another home game, but with 10 wins, while a 14-win Vikings team would have to win 3 road games to get to a Super Bowl. There was a path for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to have to win 2 home games and a road game, potentially as the 3 seed, potentially 3 home games. If you would have seen the Lions and the Eagles both knocked out and the Bucs didn't have to play either one of them, Tampa Bay could have been as the 3 seed, a home team in the wild card, a home team in the divisional. If the Lions and the Eagles both got knocked out, potentially a home team in the NFC title game as the 3 seed. Is that too much of a reward for effectively being mediocre but in a bad division? Are we good with this?
I think it's fine the way it is. I don't know why that they think they need to mess with it. I mean, it's been this way for a while, and it's not like it's tradition. I think it works fine. I mean, you've got a couple of divisions that are down. Unfortunately, the NFC South has been really bad for a while now.
I agree. Here's why I think they're looking at tinkering with it a little bit. The Buccaneers were in the wild card round with the Rams, who were another 10-win team, the Vikings, who won 14, the Commanders, who won 12, the Eagles, who won 14, and the Packers finished at 11? So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
This is a bad look for the NFL because a team didn't win as many as the other ones. So they want it to look better by having more winning teams. And I think that what the NFL is saying is we want to reward teams who have better seasons. So they want to eliminate. They want to go to the new college model. That's in all of the divisions, isn't it? To where the top 2 teams go. They're wanting to do that.
No. It is going to be the same format. 4 division winners, 3 wild card teams, right? So Tampa Bay, if we change this new format, Tampa Bay would still go. But by way of being a division winner, but having the worst record, technically speaking, the worst record in the NFC playoffs belongs to the Bucs and the Rams. The Bucs and the Rams both got in because they were division winners. Now, I don't know what the tiebreaker would have been for the Bucs and the Rams to determine who is who would have been the lower seed. The Buccaneers and the Rams would have been the last 2 seed. You're in by way of winning the division. You get the reward for being an okay team in a crappy division. So you get to go to the playoffs. But we also feel like Minnesota, who played in a division in the NFC North that had 3 teams that had a better record than the NFC South champ. We feel like the Vikings should also be rewarded, not punished, for a 14-win season. There was, in the entire NFL, 4 teams that got to 14 wins. The Bills did not get to 14. The Ravens did not. The Texans did not. All division winners. The 14-win teams were the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Lions, the Vikings. That's it. That's the list. And so the reward for finishing the season, Lonzo, with effectively the second best record in the NFL. Third, if you include 2 15-win teams, is 2 different spots. Tied for the best record in the NFL were the Chiefs and the Chiefs and the Lions, both at 15 wins. The Minnesota Vikings had the second best record in the National Football League, and their reward was you got to go win 3 games on the road to get to the Super Bowl. Tampa Bay got a better spot, an easier path technically to the Super Bowl than the Vikings did.
Well, the Vikings could have fixed it. They could have beat Detroit.
Sure, and that is the counter argument was, okay, beat Detroit. You don't have to worry about it. If you beat Detroit, you win the NFC North, you get the 1 seed, you get the bye, you are guaranteed to host every game that's not the Super Bowl, and that's a fine argument. But there is nothing that, for instance, looking at just the NFC right now, the 12-win Washington Commanders, who play in a division with the Eagles, who, again, tied for the second-best record in the NFL. The 12-win Commanders, who had to play the second-best record in the NFL twice this year, whereas the Buccaneers got to play 6 games against the team that was 8-9 and 2 teams that were 5-12. The Commanders had an empirically more difficult regular season schedule, and the Commanders had to go to Tampa, a team that they won 2 more games than in a tougher division, arguably speaking. Remember, the Cowboys, as much grief as we love to give them, were 7-10. They were 1 game off second place in the NFC South. So I think what you're looking at here is a situation where the NFL is saying, if you win the division, and it's a bleep division, you still get to go to the playoffs. However, we want to reward success for the spot that we're in. We were talking about this. I've been butting heads with Lonzo. Wins and losses are not a quarterback stat. And Lonzo has said over and over and over, the most important thing is wins. The most important thing. I all year said, look at Carolina, trending up. And what did Lonzo say? I'll believe it when they win, right? Wins are the most important thing. Well, if you believe in that philosophy, I think you should be on board with this change. Because what the NFL is saying is winning your division is commendable, and you're going to get to go if you do, but the most important thing is wins. And so therefore, we are going to reward the teams that do that the most with the best path to the playoffs.
The most talented, the team with the most wins in the NFC South
would have checked in third in the
doesn't matter. Was Tampa Bay.
I agree. They get to go to the playoffs.
Right.
But they don't get to host a playoff game.
It's lame.
Is it lame
Yes.
just because it's change?
No.
Because I think a lot of people are looking at it and basically going, I don't like change. That's a lot of what college football was.
No, it's not about the change thing because what if next year a team from the NFC South wins 10 games, wins 11 games?
What if? So what?
If everybody wins about the same, which is what they want, I just think it's about the look. That's what I think it's about.
I understand, but
so they're still
what's
going.
the look that's bad?
They're still going anyway. So this tinkering thing, it doesn't. I don't know what it solves. What does it solve?
What it solves is
I get you're saying that they reward the team, the other teams that are better than.
Here's what it solves. Here's what it solves. 2 10-win teams are hosting games this weekend, while a 14 and a 12-win team are both on the road.
You made it into the playoffs, win all your games. That's the whole point, is to win all the way to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl.
I understand.
If you have an extra game, that's on you because you didn't, because one team gets a bye and that's it. That's it.
We're not talking about a bye. We're talking about home games. Is home field advantage a real thing? You're a Chiefs fan. You have to say yes.
I was going to say it depends on the team.
Okay, home field advantage is a real thing. Even if Cody Decker and I had this conversation Saturday, then we have to run to the break. Even if your stadium's empty, home field is advantage. You don't have to get on planes. You don't have to get on buses. You get to eat your own food. You get to spend time with your wife and your kids. There are all these advantages that come with being in your city, as Big and Rich once said on College Game Day for a very long time, that I would take, and that is the reward. Not being in front of your fans. The reward is you're sleeping in your own bed in round 1. And I bet there's a lot of Vikings that would love that tonight. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk more about that moving forward. Rob Lonzo, you, the Rob Brown Show, the Fan Upstate. Oh, sorry, Sports Flash. Sports Flash.
5 of the 6 wildcard games have been determined in the NFL. The Houston Texans are moving on after knocking off the Chargers 32-12. Justin Herbert tossed 4 interceptions, while C.J. Stroud had 282 passing yards. The Ravens move on with a 28-14 win over the Steelers after rushing for 299 team yards. The Bills dominated the Broncos 31-7. The Packers season is over after a 22-10 loss to the Eagles, in which Saquon Barkley rushed for 119 yards. And the Commanders finished off Tampa Bay 23-20 with a walk-off field goal. The final game is tonight when the Rams face the Vikings in Arizona. Former Patriot Mike Vrabel is now the New England head coach after the two sides reached a multi-year deal yesterday. 2021 AP Coach of the Year places Gerard Mayo, who was fired after 1 year with a 4-13 record. Make sure you tune in tonight, 6:30, as Furman Paladins take on the Wofford Terriers.
From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Traffic Center, I'm Bill Brooks on the Fan, Upstate.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place. For changes big and small. Loud or quiet. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
I'm a pretty great multitasker. I can wash dishes and do laundry. I can roller skate while walking my dog. I can even order lunch while doing my homework. But I can't use my phone while driving. A distracted driver is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. So when it comes to driving, please, don't be a multitasker.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, it's bigger game days.
I'm Chuck Sanders. Here's the Sports Flash presented by Progressive. The College Football National Championship game is set. It'll be 7.
Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Show up early, pass out quick. First 100 fans to show up for the big game on Sunday get a free square for your chance to win a ticket.
I'm Chuck Sanders. Here's the Sports Flash presented by Progressive. The Anaheim Ducks beat the Carolina Hurricanes 3-2 in overtime on night. The game with 56 tonight for Campbell men's basketball. The NC Central's home tonight against Denver.
Minnesota plus 1.5 field goal. Stafford 225 PY with the cool plus.
I'm Chuck Sanders. Here's the Sports Flash presented by Progressive. Men's college hoops tonight. Furman battles Wofford.
Annual Bourbon and Bacon Fest at the Foundry at Judson Mill in downtown Greenville. Friday, January 17th. Bourbon, bacon, cigars, and sweets. VIP, general admission, and designated driver tickets are on sale now. Your participation directly supports Carolina Adaptive Golf, benefiting veterans and individuals overcoming physical or mental trauma. Don't miss out on the Bourbon and Bacon Fest. Friday, January 17th at Judson Mill, downtown Greenville. Secure your tickets at bourbonandbaconfest.com. That's bourbonandbaconfest.com. Sponsored in part by Alliance Distilling, Buzzard's Roost Sipping Whiskey, and Basil Hayden Whiskey.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-390-0766, 800-390-0766, 800-390-0766.
The Fan.
Upstate.
WYRD Greenville.
WORD Spartanburg.
QC first break.
QC first break.
W246CB Spartanburg. Odyssey Sports Station.
And check this out.
For an official Rob Brown lockdown.
And also Coke times Pepsi, which I assume is what that handle means. I am also on the Rams tonight. And off we go into hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Fan Upstate. I am Rob Brown, sitting directly across on the other side of the metaphorical glass from the Sultan of Swag, the Professor of Perfection, the Wizard of Wave, the great one, Lonzo, is here rolling with us this AM. You want to be a part of the show? Easy ways to do it. The phone line is open, 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. That is also the text number, 844-326-3663. Text us your thoughts on the show. We got a couple of texts during the break about the NFL potentially reformatting the playoffs where winning your division does not guarantee you a home game. It would be the teams with the most wins that get the home games. Winning the division simply gets you a ticket to the playoff, but not a guaranteed home game. We'll talk about that coming up in just a couple of minutes. Get into that a little bit deeper because some of you have thoughts that you have texted to 844-326-3663. We also have our poll question of the day up right now that you can text your answer to 844-326-3663. Here is the text question of the day. Football season ends in about 4 weeks. When that very sad day realizes itself in front of us, which sport do you want to see get more coverage on the show? Is it baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, off-season football, or other? Here's how you vote. You text your answer to 844-326-3663, and you text to start your text. If you put it anywhere else in the text, it will not be recorded. Text baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, other, and include the sport after the word other. Or do you think we keep the show football-centric with off-season football? If so, text football. So text baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, football, or other, and then the sport to 844-326-3663. Lonzo, out of the gate, we have 6 options, and we have a 4-way tie already. We've had this poll out for about 30 minutes. We are sitting on 20 votes via the text line so far. The vote is tied between baseball, hockey, basketball, and other. And both of those others said professional wrestling. We know our people. We love our people. All right. So when football ends after the Super Bowl, what sport do you want to see the most coverage picked up on the show? Baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball. Keep it with football or other. Text your answer to 844-326-3663. At the end of the show, we will tabulate our answers.
So
now,
other could be like, what was that, car taekwondo or whatever that was?
We want to get some car taekwondo in here.
Yeah,
you got it. By the way, and I it's funny, when we had that, it was car jujitsu.
Ah, my bad.
Yeah, it's all good.
Taekwondo, I think, is more about takedowns.
Yes.
Jiu-jitsu is more about submissions. Okay.
It was car jujitsu. 2 people start, one in the driver's seat, one in the passenger seat. I got to assume passenger seat's like having home field advantage, right?
Yeah, because the steering wheel's not.
Yeah.
There.
Got to assume passenger seat. If you're in the driver's seat, I got to assume the strategy is like straight to the back seat, right? Like I got to get it in the back seat, which is a weird sentence to say, and I regret saying it out loud on the radio.
Something that,
yeah,
people have been saying forever.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to say you got to go straight to the back seat. You got to get the action on in the back seat, right? That's where you want to have
Unless
the action.
you drive like a Miata or something.
We had the, after we talked about that, I think early last year, we were reached out to, hilariously. I don't know how it made the round. Apparently the segment made the rounds on social media because we were reached out to by the guy who owns the promotion that runs car jiu-jitsu. It's the same promotion runs the same promotion runs the professional mini golf league.
Well, we are on Spotify. We're on all kinds of things, and if it's in the title, or if it's, which I'm sure I put it in the title, if someone looked it up, it would have popped up.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
maybe that guy was just searching his own his own pub, which is great. You should, but it made the rounds, and I got a call or an email from the guy who runs that league, and he's like, "Yo, if you want the play-by-play guy on, I can have him on." And we couldn't arrange a date at the time because they were in season. I might circle back around. I don't know what the car jiu-jitsu season is, but we might reach out and have that dude on. I out of sheer morbid curiosity and nothing else.
I think that should be the show every day after football season. Is something weird in sports like that.
I'm down for it. All right. It is 7:07 in the AM portion of the day here in the worst time zone, the Eastern time zone, which means, ladies and gentlemen, you got like less than 53 minutes till you got to get to the office. Then you got like 58 minutes till you take that first break to walk down the hallway, go to the break room, stand around the water cooler, and talk sports with your coworkers. And if you're going to do that, you're going to need this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
I'm your huckleberry.
even before they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
Good clip, bad timing. That's how it was. That's how
It depends on how you look at it. I mean,
That's
it
also
might have
true.
been perfect
Good timing for me.
Yeah.
Good timing for me. I do love the concept that at some point, the person who put that together just threw a fart sound in there. It's like, watch this.
We know the person who
Oh,
put
I
it
know.
together, and the fact that he's let me get away with doing what I've been doing for years now, which usually he does not let you get away with that. So, I mean,
It's
you know.
pretty good. It's pretty fun, pretty funny shtick. It is a water cooler cheat sheet, top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports with your friends, family, or coworkers. When you do, this is what you'll be talking about. Let us jump in with item numero uno. Don't have to spend a ton of time on this because while the massive decision has been reached, it is a decision, the results of which we will not see until the end of 2025. But a federal judge has denied NASCAR's motion to dismiss an antitrust lawsuit filed against the stock car series by Michael Jordan's 23XI Racing and Front Row Motorsports. NASCAR asked that the antitrust suit be thrown out. They also asked that both parties named in the lawsuit, that would be 23XI/Front Row and NASCAR and their president, or I should say presidents, the France family, put up a bond before the lawsuit starts. And the bond would transfer from the losing party to the winning party to cover court costs, attorney fees, et cetera, et cetera. Both of those motions were denied by U.S. District Judge Kenneth Bell of the Western District of North Carolina. Both of those motions were denied on Saturday. NASCAR and the teams that compete in the Top Cup Series operate with a franchise system implemented in 2016 in which 36 cars have charters that guarantee them a spot in the field at every race. There are also 4 open spots earmarked for the 40-car field every week. The two teams banded together in negotiations on an improved charter system in an often contentious battle with NASCAR for the last 2 years. Back in September, NASCAR presented the teams with a take-it-or-leave-it offer that had to be signed just 48 hours before the start of the playoffs. There were only 2 teams out of 15 who refused to sign the new charter, 23XI and Front Row. They then teamed up to sue NASCAR and named Chairman Jim France by name in the lawsuit. They are arguing that as the only stock car entity in the United States, NASCAR has a monopoly and the teams are not getting their fair share of the pie. Both organizations maintained that they would still compete as open cars, but convinced Bell last month to give them chartered status for the season by arguing they would suffer irreparable harm as open cars. Amongst their claims was that 2311 driver Tyler Reddick, last year's regular season champ, would contractually become an immediate free agent if the team was not guaranteed a charter for the year. NASCAR argued Wednesday that it needs the money earmarked because it would be redistributed to the charter teams if 23 and Front Row were to lose their lawsuit. Jeffrey Kessler is the one overseeing the suit on behalf of 2311 and Front Row. He argued that NASCAR has made no such promise to redistribute the funds to other teams. Kessler said NASCAR told teams it was up to their discretion how they would use the money and did not rule out spending some of that money on their own legal fees. So that lawsuit will go in front of a judge, but it will not go in front of that judge until the conclusion of the 2025 NASCAR season, a season in which 2311 and Front Row will both have a charter to race every week. So we'll see how that shapes up. Let's get to item number 2. Eric Staal has become the 4th player to have his number retired by the Carolina Hurricanes when his number 12 was raised at the Lenovo Center prior to the team's 3-2 overtime loss to the Ducks. Yesterday, the Ontario, Canada native and a former number 2 draft pick spent 12 of his 18 NHL seasons with Carolina, in which he recorded 455 goals, 608 assists, over 1,365 career games. He served as the Canes captain from 09 to 16 and appeared in 6 NHL All-Star games, winning MVP honors in 2008. The 40-year-old retired back in July. He signed a one-day contract to retire a Hurricane. He joins Rod Brindamore, Ron Francis, and Glenn Wesley as the 4 players in the Hurricanes Ring of Honor with their jerseys hanging atop the rafters. During his time with the Canes, he set several franchise records after the team relocated from Hartford, Connecticut in 1997. He has the records currently for goals scored, assists, points, games played, power play goals, power play points, and hat trick. Staal also saw the franchise carve its place in history after winning a Stanley Cup back in 2006, which he called the highlight of his career. Staal was joined for the ceremony by his family, including his brothers Jordan, who is the current C for the Canes, his brother Mark, a former NHL defenseman, and others. Current Hurricane players took place in the festivities from the bench. Several former teammates were also there when the 12 went up into the rafters. Congratulations to Eric Staal, just the 4th player in Hurricanes history to have the number be raised. And finally, let's get to item number 3. 5 of your 6 NFL wild card winners have been determined. Number 6 will be determined this evening. The Houston Texans moved on past the, I almost said it, San Diego again, Los Angeles Chargers, 32-12 your final. Justin Herbert threw 4 picks in this game. He threw 3 all season. That's unbelievable. I mean, that's literally unbelievable. The Chargers had 50 total rushing yards in this game. They surrendered 168 to the Texans. CJ Stroud went 22 of 33, for 282 and a touch in that one. The Ravens are moving on with a 28-14 win over the Steelers. Lamar Jackson had 175 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, but he also added 81 on the ground to Derrick Henry's 186. The Ravens had a team season high 299 rushing yards in this one. Derrick Henry did score twice. The Ravens are moving on. The Bills are moving on after demolishing the Denver Broncos. It was 10-7 at the half, but it was all Buffalo as they shut out the Broncos in the final 3 quarters. Josh Allen, 272 passing yards and a pair of touchdowns. Also rushed for 46. James Cook, 120 yards on the ground. Buffalo moves on. So do the Philadelphia Eagles with a 22-10 win over the Green Bay Packers. Jalen Hurts just 131 through the air. Did throw for 2 touchdowns. It was Saquon Barkley, 25 carries, $119, and could have added about another 60 on as he broke away what would have been a 76-yard touchdown run, but instead picked up the first down, went to the ground, and decided not to run it in, saying basically, yo, look, something could have gone bad, right? They could have stripped me as I ran. I could have popped a hammy, and that would have taken me out. I think at the end of the day, Saquon was just trying to be a classy dude and not run it up. So 119 could have been closer to like 160. The Commanders are in an unfortunate fumble turnover, and then the Commanders were able to get down at a field goal range to knock through a walk-off doink. 23-20 is your final. Jaden Daniels, 268 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Also ran for 36 as well. Baker Mayfield, not the day he wanted, $185 and 2 touchdowns, but 23 rushing yards and a couple of fumbles, one which was lost. So when it's all said and done, it shapes up this way for the divisional round next weekend. The 1 seed in the AFC, the Kansas City Chiefs, will welcome the 4-seeded Houston Texans. The Bills are the 2 seed. They will host the 3-seed Ravens. Over in the NFC, the Lions got the bye after winning the NFC North. They will welcome Jaden Daniels and the Commanders up to Detroit. The Eagles moved on with the win over the Packers. They await the winner of tonight's matchup between the Rams and the Vikings. The winners of those 2 games obviously on to the AFC and NFC championship games, which will take place on January 26th. There's your water cooler cheat sheet. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, let's get some college football. We got our natty set. It is the Ohio State University Buckeyes taking on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. How did they get here? I've got some thoughts. I'll share them when we come back. Rob Lonzo and you, The Rob Brown Show, the Fan Upstate.
QC.
All right, guys, quick live read, and we're coming right back. Stay there for me, please, and thank you. and determine exactly how it is that we ended up here with these two particular teams finding their way into the biggest dance of them all. We start with the first of the two semifinal games. Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish, they knock off Penn State 27-24. This game, of course, was very contentious, but when it came down to it, there was a big mistake from Drew Aller. Notre Dame scored with 4.5 minutes left to play in the fourth quarter to tie it up at 24-24. And it felt like there was plenty of time for Penn State to get the ball back, to go on an extended drive, and to preferably kick a walk-off field goal or maybe score a touchdown and put all the pressure on Notre Dame with not much time left. Instead, what happened was Drew Aller threw a very misguided interception. Notre Dame sent out former South Carolina Gamecock Mitch Jeter after a 7-play, 19-yard drive. He drilled a 41-yard field goal, and the Irish walk it off 27-24 instead. What went wrong for Penn State? Told you that last week after it went wrong. I went back and I rewatched a large chunk of this game. And one thing that you will notice is in the first half of this game, where Notre Dame was flirting with 100 yards of offense, was very simple. Penn State was bringing dudes. Penn State was bringing dudes. They were bringing exotic blitzes. They were bringing 5. They were bringing 6. They were bringing dudes, and they were beating Notre Dame at the point of attack. What went wrong in the second half for Penn State? They stopped. I went back and watched the second half. Penn State, more often than they were not, in the second half of the College Football National Championship playoff semifinals, Penn State was bringing 4. Occasionally they would bring 5, but it wasn't like a disguised or overly aggressive 5. I think in the second half, I watched every play. I did not keep track. And I didn't realize that I should have until it was time to go to Betty Bye last night, and I didn't get a chance to finish it. But I believe Penn State only brought a non-linebacker blitz like twice in the entire second half against Notre Dame. That's one of the things they were killing the Irish with. It's one of the things they've killed everybody with in these playoffs, was bringing blitzes from different spots in the second and third levels. And against Notre Dame in the second half, if they brought an extra guy, which was rare, it was usually the middle or the strong side linebacker. Very rarely did they go with the weak side backer. Very rarely did they come off the edge with a secondary member. And usually when they did, it was coming from the weak side, and Notre Dame was routinely running to the strong side of the field. So not only were they rarely bringing the extra blitzes, but when they did, they were pretty much telling Notre Dame, if you run to the strong side, yeah, it's going to be a better matchup, but if we're bringing a blitz, we're bringing from the weak side. We're going to try to get to the quarterback with one fewer blocker on that side, and it just did not go the way I think that Penn State thought it was going to. Here's what I'm interested with Notre Dame and why I will tell you right now. And it's early, and I want to say very clearly, reserve the right to change my opinion between here and Monday. But I'm picking the Buckeyes out of the gate. And I'll tell you why. Because of what Ohio State can do on defense. And I think you saw them do that in their college football semifinal. A 28-14 win over Texas. And I'm coming for you in just a minute, Steve Sarkisian. You hang tight. But what did Ohio State do? Lonzo, you guys own the edge. I mean, own the edge. You were bringing guys off the edge. You were maintaining the edge. There was no spot where Quinn Ewers or Arch Manning were going to be allowed to get to the edge. There was no point where the two Texas running backs, Blue and Weissner, there was no spot where you guys were going to allow them to bounce it off the edge and get wide. And that ended up being the death blow for Texas, because here's the ball. 7 inches from tying up the game at 21-all late in the fourth quarter. They run it one time up the middle. Ohio State gets the stop. What do they do the second play? They hand it off. They don't hand it. They pitch it off the end. They try to beat Ohio State laterally. And respectfully, very few teams are going to accomplish that. Very few guys are going to be able to get the edge on Ohio State. So what Ohio State did was set the edge, funnel Texas up the middle, and Texas was never comfortable with it. Well, guess what? Riley Leonard is a guy that is not going to get the edge. And while I understand that Notre Dame has an absolute dude in Jeremiah Love, Jeremiah Love is a guy that wants to run to contact, and I respect that. He wants to run through contact. And, oh, by the way, is still dealing with that dinged-up knee, which, I mean, I appreciate it. They asked him, they're like, yo, bro, that knee's not a hundy, but you're going to go out there and play. And he said, yo, it's football. I'm going to win. And respect for that, for the record. Respect for that. But if your knee ain't 100%, you can't run 100%. You don't have full speed, which means that Notre Dame doesn't become a threat off the edge. If I'm Ryan Day, if I'm Notre Dame, great one, I'm making Riley Leonard beat us with his arm. I prove it to me. I am bringing extra dudes just like Penn State did, and it worked for one half. I am bringing extra dudes. I am hanging on to the middle. I am locking down dudes on the outside, and I'm saying if you beat us, it is going to be because Riley Leonard beats us throwing the football. And I'm willing to, if I am Ohio State, based on what I've seen so far, I'm willing to try to get into a shootout with Notre Dame if Riley Leonard can do that. But I am owning the outside pass routes. I am setting the edge. I am not letting Love beat us wide. I am taking away the run game, and I'm saying if Riley Leonard's going to beat us, he's going to beat us with his arm, and he's going to put himself into the college football history books by having a game. And here's the thing, with all the respect in the world of Notre Dame and what they've accomplished to get here, I don't think they got that dog in them. I don't think that's a game plan that they can succeed with. So unless they just physically beat Ohio State, which no one else in these playoffs has come even close to doing, and that includes a bigger, stronger team in Texas, unless they beat, and when I say beat, I don't mean get more points. I mean beat Ohio State, which I don't think they're going to do. I like the Buckeyes in this game early, Lonzo.
The thing is, that game Friday was uncomfortably close for a really long time. But it's what you said. I mean, they just basically were just slowly beating them down, and they did. And in the end, they won the game. I'm still a little nervous about it, but of course, I think the Buckeyes are going to win. Maybe because of their defense, because their defense is pretty much the reason why they won Friday.
Yeah, I would agree.
Most teams get down on the 1 yard line or less. They're going to get in the end zone or at least come away with a field goal. And it looked like, and then that did not happen thanks to what Jack Sawyer was able to do. Replayed like 10,000 times with a bunch of different music, by the way, which is amazing. But it was uncomfortably close going into the fourth quarter.
Listen, Texas is a good team, right? Like I think a lot of people, and this is, remember what I said earlier in the show, don't take the best performance and think that's what a team is. Just like you shouldn't take the worst performance and think that's what a team is.
I was thinking, great, Chip Kelly has decided we're just going to try to run up the middle the entire game. There were times when it's like, please don't do that. Please don't. Oh, man, why'd they do that again? I know you do that to set up things later, but it just was not working. And that's what happened in Michigan. And that's what had me worried.
I think even if the run game isn't working, you have to at least stick with it. And you have to at least stick with it because when you abandon the run game,
well, there was also,
the job gets easier for the defense.
There's also, Trey, you don't punch a guy no matter what he says.
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple penalties that really hurt Ohio State.
I agree. You shot yourself in the foot a couple of times, and that is something that I think it's fair to be concerned about if you're a Buckeye, right? Because I will give Marcus Freeman one thing about the Irish. It's a disciplined football team. They don't make a ton of mistakes. They don't get a ton of penalties. They had a couple of false starts that kind of screwed them up a little bit against Penn State. But it's not a heavily penalized team. It's not a team that gets out of its head much. And Ohio State, I'm not saying they are, but they certainly looked like it against Texas.
Yeah, did Henderson make up for the mistake by his long touchdown run?
Well, I mean, look, I think what you've got to dial in on,
because I don't think he did. You just can't be punching a guy. I mean, a couple penalties that hurt Ohio State and could have led to a loss were really costly and at the wrong time.
I think you've got to dial in on. And on Saturday on Bet for the Cycle, which airs noon to 4 on the BetQL Network, on Saturday I handed flowers to Chip Kelly because as frustrating as it felt in certain times, I'll tell you what, running the ball, even if the run's not working as well as you'd like it to, and against Texas, which Texas's entire brand is what? We got big, beefy boys, big, meaty men slapping meat across the line, both sides of the football. You still have to run the ball, and you have to run the ball because when you get to the point that you show Texas or Notre Dame or anybody else that their 4 defensive linemen can be held at bay, or excuse me, that their defensive line can kind of pull off a little bit, or your linebackers can drop back because your defensive linemen are the moment you stop running the ball and demanding linebackers stay honest is the moment that they can put an extra 2 into pass coverage. And now your quarterback's life gets tougher. You have got to show them that, hey, we're going to keep trying to keep them honest. What happened against Michigan was you didn't try anything else. In this one, at least you were working the ball around a little bit. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back here in a minute. We'll talk a little more national championship, give you our early projections and previews and prognostications on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. The Rob Brown Show back on the radio. It's the Fan Upstate talking about the college football national championship 1 week from this evening, ladies and gentlemen. We don't need to do a whole segment on it. But college football, on behalf of the Fan Upstate, on behalf of the Armada, on behalf of college football fans everywhere, and perhaps most importantly, on behalf of everyone who has to be awake at 3:30 on Tuesday, I am begging you, on bended knee, begging you, will you make me the happiest college fan on planet Earth? Will you move this game to Saturday nights from now on, please? Like, I know the answer is no, and I know we're wasting our breath and time. But, like, I got to ask. Can you please move this game to Saturday? I'm begging you to please move this game to Saturday. I can't, as the expression goes. I just can't.
Not going to happen, especially not this year. And if you were going to Atlanta, look up those ticket prices. It's like a couple $1,000s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a little pricey.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing you, if it were your team in Atlanta, would take out a loan or whatever to go.
I can't say no to that.
So if my wife and I were to go, it would cost us around $4,000, probably more. And I just, dude, that's too much money.
I mean, again, and I've said this before, every year at the beginning of the NFL season, we end up getting an email or a text or a call from somebody that goes, Rob, these NFL ticket prices are absolutely ridiculous. I can't afford to take my family of blank number of people to go see an NFL game. And every year we have the same conversation, which is they don't care. They don't care. The expression I have used for years is they don't care whose butts are in seats. They care that butts are in seats. The same is true for college football, though I would say that hurts college more than it hurts the pros, because college football does not, or at least should not, promote itself as come watch the best football players on earth play the best version of football. That's the NFL. Where college wins is look at the pride and the tradition and the pageantry and the pageantry of the whole thing. And, you know, when you look at the stadium and you know that it's a bunch of uptight socialites that have filled in the bleachers there, kind of takes away from the atmosphere a little bit. But we'll put that aside for just a minute.
Looks like the cheapest is about $1,500.
That checks out. And that's probably sitting up top, if I had to guess.
It is.
In a big-ass stadium that's sitting up top. I think that
most expensive looks like $36.63. $3,660.
Yeah, I summed. I mean, honestly, to sit like on the field, that's not bad. That's bad. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. And especially not as bad as I thought it was going to be when you do have two of the biggest brands in college football slugging it out, right? Like those tickets go way down if we'd had a dark horse make it all the way up. But to have two of the biggest brands in college football slugging it out, that makes sense.
I was wrong. The most expensive tickets are in the 4,000s for 50-yard line, but I think those are already gone.
Oh, I'm sure. All right. So Texter said Lonzo is right to be concerned. Notre Dame isn't going to knock the Buckeyes around, but if they make a mistake, the Irish will pounce. That's how Freeman got them this far. I am going to both agree and disagree, Texter. I agree. And this, how did I describe the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in the last segment? A well-disciplined team. A team that doesn't make a ton of mistakes. A team that doesn't shoot themselves in the foot very often. A team that does not commit a bunch of penalties in big-time situations. That's not them. And that is the Marcus Freeman effect. I agree with you wholeheartedly. What I'm also going to say is I don't believe that is the reason that Marcus Freeman has this team where Marcus Freeman has this team. I believe that Marcus Freeman has this team here because it's a good football team. It's a good football team. They got dogs. They got players. They got guys. We talked about Jeremiah Love. We've talked about Riley Leonard, who I think has been largely unappreciated. Like, this is a good football team. But I do not think they have the horses Ohio State has. I don't think they got the dogs Ohio State has. I am leaning on a couple of things. Number one, and this is something that I said concerned me to some degree about Penn State. It definitely concerns me quite a bit against Ohio State. As we have said a number of times, that Will Howard, playoff Will Howard's a different dude. That dude's playing on a different level. And when he started finding guys like Jeremiah, when he started finding his guys, they started looking like a different team. Notre Dame plays man-to-man press coverage on the outside at an almost 60% clip. Like 6 out of 10 snaps, Notre Dame's in a press man-to-man on the outside. I'll tell you this right now. So based on what we've seen out of the Cats so far, you're going to give me Jeremiah Smith on the outside man-to-man, I'll take him over just about any defensive back in the damn country.
Well, he didn't have they took him away last game. So they're probably going to try to do that again.
For sure. But
if they don't, they're making a mistake. If you can take them away, you take them away.
I would agree. But this is why I love to point out one of my favorite illustration of this for years. I think Lamar Jackson did this for Baltimore this weekend. My favorite illustration of what I'm about to tell you is Reggie Bush. There are some guys that you taking them away is them helping the team. There was a play. What game was it? The Ashton Jeanty, the Boise State game against Penn State. There was a play that Boise State scored on. That Ashton Jeanty was nowhere near the football, but I was able to point out and go, that doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but it should. We should have a stat in football called distraction, right? Like, there should be a number of times you removed a guy from the field just by being there. There was a play where Ashton Jeanty was lined up as a traditional halfback, quarterback under center. Quarterback takes the snap. He feigns left and bootlegs right. Ashton Jeanty didn't even take a fake handoff. He just sprinted left. And when he took off to the left, both linebackers on that side of the field went with him. Both of them just took off running, right? And what ended up happening was a cutback to the inside because there was no linebacker there anymore. What Ashton Jeanty did on that play does not show up on a score sheet, but he's the reason that play was successful. If Jeremiah Smith gets taken away, Zoe, it's not because there's a cornerback lined up on him. It's because they've rolled coverage to his side. And if you roll coverage to his side, what it means is the other side of the football field has got one less guy or less attention being paid to it. And that is Will Howard and where he feasted last time.
With Carnell Tate got quite a few passes.
Correct.
And Egbuka. I mean, people forget that those two guys really, really good.
Correct. There are other dudes there. Jeremiah Smith had a couple of breakout games in rounds 1s and 2s. Against Tennessee and against Oregon. Breakout games, for sure. And obviously, by the time he got to game 3, he's not a shock anymore. And so you are correct. What ended up happening there was in the last game, you had Texas rolling coverage to Jeremiah. And when they rolled coverage to Jeremiah Smith, the back half of the football field opened up. And while I like and I give a ton of credit to what Will Howard is doing, there is some element of importance of let's get him the easy ones, right? Like, let's open the field up. Let's get him the easy passes to knock down. And so what was happening was, in rolling the coverage over to whatever side 4 was on, you ended up either having one fewer dude, and what is the goal of an offense? to get the ball where I got more dudes than you got dudes. A play in football, a play is drawn up for the purpose of how do we put the ball in a way that we dictate having more dudes than they got dudes. Well, if they're taking 4 away from you on the right side, then you run something on the backside that takes advantage of the lack of attention. And that's what Will Howard took advantage of in that game against Texas. I do think it is important to point out, Texas is a damn good football team. Of course it was a close game. What Ohio State did against Oregon will be the anomaly, not the norm. But they figured out what Texas was giving them, and they took advantage. This is why Chip Kelly gets the flowers, even if it wasn't the 42-point explosion everybody thought it was going to be. He gets the flowers because he said, all right, this is what Texas is doing. They made the adjustment, and he trusts Will Howard to make the calls. And Will Howard's been making the right decision more often than not. I agree with what you said, Texter. If Ohio State makes mistakes, Notre Dame will pounce on those mistakes. Absolutely and for sure. Here's the thing Chip Kelly has done. The offensive playbook has been opened up. It's not massively complicated. It's not a wildly complicated set of plans. It's not a wildly complicated set of concepts. It is, all right, you're taking 4 away. We're going to the backside. All right, you were dropping extra men into coverage to stop Will Howard from beating you up. Great. We will still run with the 2 All-American running backs we have. Like, Chip Kelly is doing things the right way. Going deeper in the bag than he was against Michigan, but not having to run mad scientist-style offense. Where is Texas doing? They're rolling their coverage to 4. Great. Hey, Will, your guy's on the other side. I want you to look at 4, make them roll over that way, turn the head, look back the other direction. Somebody's going to be there. Find them. Hey, guys, if they drop an extra man into coverage so that they can cover up Jeremiah but not leave any open gaps in the backside of the zone, great, we're going to run it right down their teeth until they stop doing that, until they give us that back. That's what Ohio State did in all of the games, all 3 games they have played so far to get to the Natty. And I think they do it again. Early prediction, I reserve the right to change it. But right now, I've talked myself into the Ohio State horse chestnuts as your national champion. If they handed out national championships for reading sports flashes, Lonzo would be a dynasty.
Yeah. 5 of the 6 wildcard games have been determined in the NFL. The Houston Texans are moving on after knocking off the Chargers 32-12. Justin Herbert tossed 4 interceptions, while C.J. Stroud had 262 passing yards. The Ravens move on with a 28-14 win over the Steelers after rushing for 299 team yards. The Bills dominated the Broncos 31-7. The Packers' season is over after a 22-10 loss to the Eagles, in which Saquon Barkley rushed for 119 yards. And the Commanders finished off Tampa Bay 23-20 with a walk-off field goal doink that went through. Final game is tonight when the Rams face the Vikings in Arizona. Carolina Hurricanes retired the number 12 worn by former player Kane Eric Stahl last night, which is pretty cool. Tune in tonight at 6:30 as Furman Paladins take on the Wofford Terriers. It's Furman versus Wofford right here on your home for Furman Paladins basketball. It is the Fan Upstate.
Open enrollment is going on now, but not for long. Don't risk going uninsured in 2025. South Carolina Blue is here for you. Visit scbluehereforyou.com to schedule an appointment at the South Carolina Blue Retail Center on Woodruff Road in Greenville. Casey and his team of experts can help you find a health plan that fits you and your budget. Open enrollment is ending, so schedule your no-cost appointment today at scbluehereforyou.com.
Make 2025 the year you get started on your next success with University of Maryland Global Campus. An accredited state university, UMGC is a school for real life, helping working adults like you learn the skills you need for the career you want. Choose from more than 135 degrees and certificates in career management fields, and earn up to 90 credits for your bachelor's for prior learning and life and work experience, or transfer up to 12 credits toward a master's. We offer scholarships, affordable tuition, and online and hybrid classes, all with the support you need from your first day to graduation day and beyond. Get a head start on your goals in the new year.
James, why does it have to be a blood feud?
Step in your life and education. Apply to UMGC by February 12th and get your application fee waived.
Maybe the Canes can come together in a Cane conference
Come together.
and settle their differences. One Cane to another.
With the Upstate Golf Card, you'll play 6 incredible courses for just $50. Tee off at Preserva Verde, Rear Golf, The Rock, Pebble Creek, Rolling Green, and Carolina Springs. Visit UpstateGolfCard.com to get yours today before they're gone. UpstateGolfCard.com.
Taxes was waiting around for your taxes to be done, which led to worrying about not getting any money back. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes in a day to get you up to $4,000 fast with a refund.
Absolutely.
Now this is Taxes.
What's better than 2 Canes? A stable of Canes.
A Cane gang?
Look out.
How many canes do we have running around? We have cocaine, snow, candy cane, gain, blue cane. There's got to be more. Ooh, I want to come out one day in like a trench coat and a detective hat, but a cane mask, and be Citizen Kane.
Ooh,
just like a random guy, but with a cane mask on.
that's a good one. But, you know, as is pointed out, how old my references are. How old is that reference? It only works if people get it, right?
He keeps grabbing a mic and like every time he's gonna cut a promo, he just grabs the mic and goes, "Rosebud," and then walks away. That's an antiquated reference.
It just might work.
When you're hanging with the best friends, I have a theory that Sue's minivan smells like popcorn. And so I'm just curious, does it smell like popcorn?
I wish it did. I love popcorn. I was in it once and it did not smell like popcorn, but I wish it did. I love popcorn.
Don't hit snooze. The Rob Brown Show, now morning 6 to 10 on The Fan.
The Fan Upstate.
MGM tonight. Get the latest scores, sides, totals, props, parlays, futures, and much more real-time, relevant sports wagertainment. Weeknights at 7 at MGM tonight. Exclusively on The Fan.
Upstate.
And on the Odyssey app. The Fan.
Upstate.
WYRD Greenville.
WORD Spartanburg.
WFBC HD3 Greenville.
W249DL Greenville.
W246CB Spartanburg.
Upstate.
3 friends. First break.
10-4.
Check this out.
You're on official Rob Brown lockdown.
Yeah, Power Ranger Canes would be limited. You could only have, what, 5?
Somebody, when they announced the Royal Rumble was in Saudi, put up a picture of a collab of all of the Power Rangers, and it was like the women's Royal Rumble match this year. I was like, oh, dude.
Into our number 3 of the Rob Brown Show here on the Fan Upstate. Rob the Great Alonzo, and yeah, we'll be a part of the show. 844-326-3663. 844-FANFONE. That's the number to be a part of the show on the phone line and the text line. 844-326-3663. Here is your question of the day as it stands right now. When football season ends in about 4 weeks from now, what sport do you want to hear more coverage of here on the show? Here are your options: baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, increased off-season football coverage, or another sport that is unlisted. You text your vote to 844-326-3663 by texting baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, football, or other, and then add the name of the sport you want to see more coverage of after that. When you text 844-326-3663, start your text with one of these keywords: baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, football, or other. You can text anything you want after, but if you want to vote, you start your text to 844-326-3663 with the word baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, football, or other. We will tally your votes up at the end of the show. As of right now, baseball is currently winning. Other is second place with a couple of wrestling and one table tennis vote, because, you know, there's the troll votes in every poll. We have a three-way tie for third place between hockey, basketball, and off-season football. And out of all the votes so far, a single vote for soccer.
Didn't Mark Ryan beat you at table tennis?
Yes.
So I think that was him.
Probably.
Yeah, I think it might have been him.
I beat him in everything else.
Okay, but I mean,
he
just
kicked my
I'm
ass.
just saying, him bringing up. I mean, someone bringing up it just immediately made me think it was him. Yeah.
He smoked me at table tennis. I got him at
Probably
Papa
doesn't
Shot.
have anything else to do as he's dealing with all that snow.
I got him at Papa Shot. I got him on the long drive in the golf simulator. I got him in the bowling. I got him everywhere. He whooped me.
I guess
at table
eventually
tennis.
we have to stop with those references because people won't remember who he is.
A long, long time ago. I can still remember. Okay, let's get to the audio blitz. Shall we? The best audio that we have picked up since the last time we did the audio blitz, which was, of course, last Friday. We'll start with this one. A.J. Brown had another big weekend for the Philadelphia Phillies. And in the postgame, A.J. Brown was doing his postgame interviews. And A.J. Brown made an elite observation.
You know, I have this theory about cheese. Most cheese don't be real. So all the cheese lovers out there, try to burn the cheese. And if it don't burn, do not eat it.
He said, cheese do not be real.
You know, I have this theory about cheese. Most cheese don't be real.
Most cheese don't be real. He said, if you want to see if a cheese is real, try to burn it. If the cheese don't burn, don't eat it. And I got to tell you, sorry, did I say Phillies?
You did.
I have now made the same mistake Tom Brady made twice during the game yesterday. The Eagles. I have a take on this.
Have you ever thought, I'm not sure this cheese is real, and then decided to catch it on fire? I mean, is that a thing?
No, I've never had the thought of try to catch it on fire.
Because then you can't even eat your fake cheese because it's on fire.
I absolutely do agree with him in that most cheese don't be real. That doesn't mean I'm not going to eat it. I will cook you up a gangsta grilled cheese with just a classic Kraft American single. It's not cheese. It's just a processed thing that happens to be what we call cheese. However, A.J. Brown, respectfully, cuz I'm still going to eat it.
All right, I just looked this up because I was curious, and according to AI Overview, whoever that may be, yes, real cheese can burn, but it's usually resistant to it because of the water content.
Sure, cheese is a good percentage water.
So if you immediately heard the story and you want to burn your cheese is not going to burn right away. The water has to.
I mean, look.
I mean,
if you broil it, if you brulee it, if you blowtorch it, which I have been known to do with a couple of meals that I make, then yeah, like you can burn the cheese for sure.
You bring out the acetylene. What do you do?
No, I legit have a cooking blowtorch.
There's a cooking blowtorch.
Yeah.
What's it fueled by?
Propane.
Okay.
And you this is for when the dish is cooked, you want to melt something on top, but you cannot continue to broil the whole dish because you'll overcook what's inside. You throw the cheese on the top and then you melt it with a blowtorch so that the cheese heats up and it melts, but not what's underneath that cheese. It's very important. You can't, some places you cannot go over the top, right?
Yeah, but if you go too far, haven't you ruined your meal?
Yes, but that's true of anything that you do if you are cooking and bad at it.
Okay. All right.
Lamar Jackson had an interesting way of describing the way that Derrick Henry ran in the Ravens wild card round win.
It looked like a movie clip. Like, when, I'm going to give Cars. You watch the movie Cars? You're a little bit too old to watch Cars, but anyway, for kids, I was a kid when I watched Kids. I was a kid when I watched Cars. That's all I'm saying. But when Lightning McQueen just flashing past, and then it's like, that's how Derrick looked when he was running past, and all those guys it looked like a movie, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I'd rather be watching it than being on the other side of the ball. I know that.
Derrick Henry said, Lamar Jackson said, Derrick Henry looked like Lightning McQueen in the movie Cars when he went flipping through the air to get out of that accident in the big race. And then he went on to go, I was a kid when I watched that movie. And I was like, yo, shut up, Lamar. That movie's old as hell. And then I went and looked. Cars, the original Cars, came out in the year 2005. Lamar Jackson was 8 when that movie dropped. He legit was a kid. That hurt my feelings because your boy in 2005 turned 20.
Did you watch Cars in 2005?
I did. It's a good movie.
Yeah, I don't understand why.
Ka-chow!
Yeah,
it's a good movie. It's a good movie.
You got to talk to Mater. So,
Hey, speaking of kids, for the playoff game in which the Los Angeles Chargers got hammered by C.J. Stroud and his Houston Texans, they did another one of those Nickelodeon games, right? They bring in all the characters. I think it was a SpongeBob theme again because SpongeBob is, still one of the most popular cartoon characters of recent memory.
I think it was, but there were a bunch of other characters.
There was a bunch of other ones there.
Dora was in there.
Dora was there. As she roasted Justin Herbert for another pick.
Did you see the defensive player? I guess the quarterback didn't either.
Now that's how you swipe.
Did you see the defensive player? I guess the quarterback didn't either.
She even laughed afterwards. The laugh is the worst thing.
Hit him with the giggle at the end. That's fantastic.
I wonder how they do that. They would have to do this real time. So wouldn't they? Are they using AI or are they using the voice actors?
The Dora clips are pre-programmed in.
Okay.
But they have the voice actors of SpongeBob and Patrick Star actually in a studio calling the game. And I think some of the others, I think Sandy Squirrel and some of the other characters, they actually have the voice actors. Some of them are programmed in. My favorite thing, though, was that at one point in the game, the dirty bubble from SpongeBob. If you're a SpongeBob guy, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay.
That's funny.
The dirty bubble descended upon and floated away with Jim Harbaugh. Justin Herbert immediately threw a pick, and the Chargers were outscored 32-0 after the dirty bubble absconded Jim Harbaugh. I know you can't plan that. That's objectively freaking hilarious. The dirty bubble kidnapped Harbaugh. I don't know if they showed him again after that, but it may as well have happened in real life because the Chargers got hammered after that 32-0 after the dirty bubble got Jimbo. That's spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. All right. Here's a couple more things we got to get to. Dan Patrick on Friday had an interesting take about college football.
The Final Four is set. Texas, Ohio State, Penn State, and Notre Dame. I like how the SEC says, hey, we got one team, it's Texas. The long-standing member of the SEC, Texas, things have changed. This might be an anomaly, and I think there'll be a lot of people who go out on the ledge today and say, hey, SEC, everybody caught up with you. I'm not going to go there yet, but I will say the following. NIL and transfer portal have changed everything because it used to be these big programs would stockpile talent. Georgia would have 3 running backs ready to go, much like the U had back in the day. Be like, oh, that guy got hurt. We're going to bring in this guy. You can't do that anymore. Kids want to play. They want to get paid. They may not stay around. Things change and quickly. Remember when you had Brian Kelly left Notre Dame because he wanted to go play and win national titles, so he went to LSU, while Marcus Freeman has Notre Dame in the Final Four? Things change, and everything's above board now. Everybody can pay. All you need is one booster, one guy who says, yeah, I'll pony up. So things have changed. Georgia is not Georgia. Alabama's not Alabama. They're still going to be very good. But it feels like, I don't know if they've come down as much as the rest of college football has kind of come up a little bit here. Like Arizona State. Arizona State should have won that game against Texas. Went toe-to-toe with Texas. Do I want to say that it's parity? I don't, but I do think you have more teams now knowing that you can get into the playoffs.
Here's my only question, because I really like the take, and it's a take I really like because it's a take I've had. I've said on this show, I've said on Bet for the Cycle. You want to know why there's parity in college football? And again, it's always going to be advantage big dogs. That's not going to change. But I do think it's fine to call it parity. That's the only thing in that take I disagree with Dan Patrick on. The take I have had is teams like Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State, et cetera, used to be able to stockpile NFL players, right? I said to Cody Decker on Saturday, I'll say it again here. There was a picture out of the locker room of Alabama after a natty that had 3 NFL starting quarterbacks in it. 3 of them. Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, Mac Jones. All 3 of them. And oh, by the way, who'd they follow that up with? Bryce Young, a first-round overall draft pick, right? They had 4 back-to-back-to-back-to-back NFL first-round quarterbacks playing quarterback at Alabama. Any given year during the Nick Saban championship runs, go look at the linebacker and defensive line units Alabama put together. Just NFL guys everywhere. There was a stat in the final regular season week of the year. Lonzo, across the entire NFL landscape in which all 32 teams played, 1 out of every 6 touchdowns was scored by an Alabama alumni. You understand how ridiculous that is? 1 out of every 6 NFL touchdowns, over 10% of the touchdowns scored in the NFL were scored by Alabama alum. That's ridiculous. But you can't do that anymore. That's not a thing. Because if I'm a linebacker, a defensive lineman, a quarterback that's got play at Alabama talent, you know where else I can play? Anywhere else. Literally any other school I can go play at. So why would I ride pine for 2 years at Alabama to go play for 1 year and go to the draft instead of play 3 years somewhere else, make a boatload of NIL money, and then move on? It's a fair question. I think Dano's right. All right, let me get 1 or 2 more in here. Here is somebody that has never gotten a ton of love on this show, mainly because in her role, she's a moderator. She's not an opinion voice. Molly Qerim Rose. Molly Qerim from First Take on ESPN. She got up after Stephen A. Smith, and I want you to know, and I'm not being sarcastic, I applauded my computer screen when I saw this clip.
I think you're completely wrong. Colorado was terrible before Deion Sanders got there, and it became appointment viewing. True football fans, this is going to be appointment viewing to see what Bill Belichick does. I think you're 100% wrong on this.
Molly, respectfully, I don't care. Let me be very, very clear. I don't care, and I'm going to tell you why. Because it's only going to last. He ain't prime time in terms of personality. Bill Belichick is going to go back to being the Bill Belichick we saw with the New England Patriots. Year 1, we'll watch him. But after that, please stop it.
As long as you win, and they're going to watch. The whole time he was in New England, everybody tuned in.
Did people not watch Clemson? You know that, Jay.
Did people not watch Clemson with Dabo Swinney when they were rolling?
It's not sexy enough for you. Stephen A. is all about box office. He wants every free agent to go to the Lakers. He hates small markets. It's just not sexy enough for him. So this is through Steve. This is through. It's like every time there's a good player that's in like Milwaukee or wherever, you're like, bring him to New York, go to the Knicks, go to the Lakers. Let's have LeBron and Steph play together. No, let me finish my point. You don't care about small markets, and for you, it's always box office. You're a New Yorker that's an Alabama fan. It's just not sexy enough for you, but you're seeing it through your lens and not through all football players. I know you don't care about my opinion.
Thank you, Molly Qerim. Thank you. Thank you for finally calling it. Thank you for finally having a voice on that network that calls out the BS. Thank you, Molly. You deserve the round of applause. It has always been with these talking heads. It has always been box office first. This every year, annually, Lonzo can attest to this. He's had to turn his mic now, or his headphones down because of me. Every year, I loathe whenever the Pelicans get bounced from contention. Why? Because what happens? Those guys, including Stephen A., who Molly was just getting after it, do what? They come, they look at our best 2 players, and they go, they should go to New York. They should go to L.A. They should go to L.A. They should go to New York. They should go to New York. They should go. And it's every year. Every year since he's been. They didn't even give us a chance to establish an identity around Zion Williamson before they started going, he should be a Knick. He should be a Laker. He should be a Laker. He should be. We had Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis was happy in New Orleans until people like that started saying, he'd make a lot more money. He'd be a lot more famous out in Los Angeles. And then all of a sudden, AD is showing up to his Pelicans games wearing "That's all, folks" T-shirts. It's maddeningly frustrating. It sucks for everybody who's not a fan of LA or New York sports. Good on Molly Queeram for finally calling out that garbage.
Have they been eliminated yet?
Oh yeah, we're 8-32. Yeah, we're awful. We suck. Zion, by the way, Zion came back from missing multiple weeks with a leg injury and then started showing up late to practice and missed the plane for a ride and got suspended because of it. Ship that dude's ass to Sacramento. Get him out of here. Waste of a contract. Back after this on the right. Shut up, James. He said Zion's a Knick. Shut up, James. Nobody asked you. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
We're friends.
All right, guys, quick break, and we're right back. Stay right there for me. If you want to join us, 844-326-3663, your text line question, poll, whatever you want to call it, of the day is this: when football comes to its conclusion in 4 weeks from now, what sport do you wish to see gain more traction on the show? Which sport do you wish to see, to hear more of on the show? Do you wish to see and hear more baseball, soccer, hockey? Do you wish to hear more basketball? Or is there something else that we haven't gotten to yet that you would like to hear more of? That's our question. You can text the show at 844-326-3663, 844-326-3663. I want you to send your text and start it with one of the following key words. I want you to text baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, football. Why did I just Jim Mora myself there? Football, playoffs, football. If you think, no, you just roll the same amount of football coverage, make it off-season coverage, or other. Right now, we have had a change in leadership. The leader up into the last hour was baseball. Now, basketball is out front. More basketball coverage once we get out of football season. Text your answer: baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, football, or other to 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE, if you want to get at us in that direction. All right. We have been talking a lot of college and NFL football. I do have a few more clips that I want to get to, and I want to start with this one. How do we feel about Matt Ryan as a studio broadcaster? I got to tell you, I kind of like him, and I'll tell you why. He is, to me, a pretty centered mix between like Greg Olsen and Tom Brady. There's a big discussion going on Twitter. Because I will say this, as much hell as I've given the guy, with a couple of exceptions, Tom Brady was pretty good during the Eagles game. Pretty good. Not great. Didn't jump off the page. Not like, oh, greatest color guy of all time. But he was better. It sounded like he had put a little bit more into it. And then we have had conversations in the past about guys like Tony Romo, who, when Romo was getting his start, he was aggressively enthusiastic about calling plays.
Listen, I don't really care for Tom Brady, as some people may or may not know, but I'll take him over the guy you just mentioned, Tony Romo, any day.
See,
Tony Romo is so annoying.
I'm the exact opposite. I loved Tony Romo. I thought Romo was
You're going to do this. What? No, that's him. That's what he does the entire time.
I disagree with you entirely.
I mean, he's like a little yappy dog. That's what he is. Just yappy, and he's not really saying anything most of the time. I would wonder what percentage he's wrong, because they're going to do. Well, I guess they didn't do that.
I couldn't disagree with you more. I think Romo was pretty good about calling plays, to the point that, and we know this now to be true, to the point that Tony Romo got told to stop predicting plays because the TV markets, the TV execs basically said, you're taking all of the drama out of it. When he's setting up and going, I want you to watch the running back on the wheel route, they're going to run this guy on the 9 to pull that safety out of position, and they're going to throw it under, and then that happens. Or it doesn't, but it's because they take that away and he goes somewhere else. They told Romo, stop predicting plays because you are taking the drama out of it.
I get it. So they told him to predict them wrong now. Okay.
No.
All right. It all makes sense.
They told him to quit predicting them.
Okay.
And if you
he's
listen
still predicting, and he's doing it wrong.
If you listen to Romo now versus Romo in year one, it's a totally different cat. He does, for the record, he does not necessarily predict anymore so much as he says, well, this is the type of play I would run in this situation. This is what I would do. But put that aside. Here's a reason I ask. Matt Ryan grew on me a lot this year as a studio analyst. And Matt Ryan made me a very happy microphone boy after the Chargers loss on Saturday. Because Matt Ryan, I think, talked about the Chargers game and what went wrong the way that it should be. Now, I cut Matt Ryan's take into two pieces, and I'm going to explain why. Here's the first part of what Matt Ryan said.
And Herbert on the other side, there's going to be a lot of criticism on him for his performance, and it's justified. When you have a quarterback of this stature, you expect them at the very least to go out there and perform at the level they have all season. At the very most, you hope they elevate everyone. He did neither.
We good with that take? I'm good with that take. As a Justin Herbert fan, and as a guy that ordinarily rushes to defend quarterbacks because I think quarterbacks get way too much of the blame when things go badly. Yeah, sometimes they play poorly. Justin Herbert played poorly. There is no other, but 4 picks. He threw more picks in that game than he threw in the regular season period. It's a bad day. And I don't care if they rolled every aspect of the defense to take away the pass. Justin Herbert's got to be better. I don't disagree with that. But then Matt Ryan did what so many talking heads fail to do.
But the criticism is not for him alone. The rest of that offense deserves criticism too. Only 9 rush attempts for J.K. Dobbins. That is not enough. That is not who they are. Greg Roman, their offensive coordinator, has always been a run-first guy. Every stop along the way, they've struggled to throw the ball to get back into games, and that was their hand force yesterday. In that conference, you're chasing Josh Allen, you're chasing Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. They've got to look at what they want to be offensively and be more versatile.
Great take. Look, the blame spreads. Justin Herbert deserves to be beat up on because Justin Herbert was empirically bad in this game. There is no other way around it. As a Justin Herbert defender, and I have been for a while now, Justin Herbert played arguably the worst game of his career at the biggest spot in his career. Now, Justin Herbert's a guy based on the fact that this team has been so bad for so long. Justin Herbert's a guy that does not have a ton of big game experience. He's a playoff rookie. So, of course, he didn't look like him in his very first game. Very few guys do. Jaden Daniels did. Very few guys do. But he still got to be better. You can't have 4 picks in that game. I don't care if they're dropping 9. You can't have 4 picks in that game. However, you have also got to point out the fact that the Chargers completely ditched their entire identity in this game. We had talked over and over and over about how the former Buckeye J.K. Dobbins had a renaissance this year. How he got back to what he was expected to be in the Jim Harbaugh offense. How he looked like he was on his way back to being a Pro Bowl caliber running back for the Chargers. And then what happened in this game? Then they, in this game, for whatever reason, just forgot to give him the football all of the sudden. Just forgot that he's on the team. Just forgot that he's a guy that needs to be getting multiple touches. I can't have that happen in this spot. Especially when I got Joe Mixon getting 25 carries. J.K. Dobbins can't end the game with 9 carries. You got completely away from your identity. And when you get away from your identity, what you end up doing is taking your quarterback out of the rhythm he's used to. You end up taking your quarterback out of the pace that he's used to. Now, that's not an excuse for Justin Herbert, who, again, let me say it louder for the people in the back, had a bad game and played poorly. There is no excuse for what Justin Herbert did. But wins and losses are not a quarterback stat. Is it on Justin Herbert? Sure. It's also on Jim Harbaugh. It's also on the offensive line. There's a lot of blame to go around. And the reason I appreciate Matt Ryan, not Ryan, is because Matt Ryan, not Ryan, came out and said what needed to be said. Herbert was bad, but this was a team failure all the way around. That's just true. That's just true. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Way to go, Steven's daughter. Ooh, they're the Cobras. The Coker Cobras. It's a good name.
Who was it that did the
team that lost?
Was it the Chargers?
No, this was Texas.
Oh, it was Texas. That's right. Did the Purple Cobras dance. That was great.
Was it?
Yeah, I mean the team wasn't great, but the dance was.
Someone commented, I forget who it was, that I guess they forgot that team lost before they did that. They lost to the Average Joes, if you recall.
That is true.
Yeah, his camera is frozen again, isn't it? It's still completely frozen, by the way.
I don't know what to do. It's great on my side.
In all your hipster glory.
This isn't hipster. This is relatively professional. I don't even have my sleeves rolled up. They're buttoned.
Mm-hmm. Well, they can still hear you. They can't see you. Unless it's my computer, which I don't think it is, since someone commented on it and then I looked and saw that you were frozen. I removed you, add you, and it froze you in a different spot. This time, Sean. There we go. Now you're moving in here.
Are you sure it was just I wasn't moving?
Oh no, it was you were, because now it's in slow mo. Okay. It's like watching a kung fu movie, sort of.
Please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist. I'm on Prevnar20.com now. Scheduling an appointment.
Yeah, Mac, it's definitely still lagging. He's like going in slow mo. He's stretched in slow mo on the screen. It was amazing.
The Rob Brown Show carries on. It is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you. We've got John Black. Did we call him?
You never teased it, so I believed it wasn't happening.
Okay,
so.
yeah. We got John Blatt with the Post and Courier coming up here in just a mere moment from now because Rob is dumb and bad at his job. I got locked up in the fact that the webcam's off frozen. My hair looks great today, though. Got John Blatt with the Post and Courier joining us here in just a minute from right now. Talk some Clemson athletics, including the quest for a new defensive coordinator. We'll talk about Brad Brownell and the Clemson basketball team as well. Big win over the Florida State Seminoles over the weekend. Florida State tried to hang in there as long as they could, and are playing better basketball, but Clemson just the better football team, and there's something to be said about that. So we'll get John here in just a second from right now. Final hour of the show coming up. We will talk a little bit more NFL as well as continue to give some thoughts and breakdown on the 2024-25 college football national championship. But before we get there, we got to go here. It is 8:40 on a Monday morning, and every 8:40 On a Monday morning, we are joined by a young man who covers the Clemson athletic department from the Post and Courier. John Blau joins us here on the show. John, when Clemson's not playing on a football weekend, do you get to sit back and relax and enjoy and watch everything else, or are you like nose to the grindstone into basketball season now?
It's a little bit of a mix. Obviously, this Saturday, we had a basketball game. So, obviously, was paying attention to that. As far as the CFP games, yeah, I peeked in. But I have to admit, I like to take a little bit of a break. So, I was kind of going between, I think I was watching like Avengers or something like that and the Notre Dame Penn State game at the same time, flipping back and forth.
I respect that. Good, healthy mix of pop culture entertainment and football at its finest. All right, John Blau, let's get into this. Just hours after we spoke last week, Clemson did make it official that Wes Goodwin will not be returning to the Clemson Tigers as defensive coordinator. The defense statistically had been falling off for a while there during the Wes Goodwin era. So we move on in the 7 days since last we spoke, and that move got official. What can you tell us? Is the hunt on? Are there names that have emerged? Has Dabo given any qualifications that he's looking for? Where do we stand in the hunt for the new DC?
Yeah, it's just a waiting game. Dabo Swinney said in his statement last week that, he expects to have somebody by the end of the month, maybe sooner, which makes you wonder if it was somebody that's in the playoff, either the college football playoff or the NFL playoff, and he's waiting for somebody to lose so he could talk to him. I haven't heard anything this Monday morning in particular that, something's imminent. It's probably going to be one of those things. Again, if you go back to Garrett Riley, when he was hired as offensive coordinator, I think Brandon Streeter, we were told he was let go, and Garrett Riley was literally on a plane to Clemson at the same time. I mean, Dabo tries to have these things real, bang, bang. I think if he had had his druthers, probably we wouldn't have known that Wes was leaving until he had his guy at defensive coordinator. So, no, there haven't been a ton of leaks. I haven't heard anything definitive. I know a lot of names have been thrown around in terms of people that potentially were interested, or maybe Clemson was interested, but I don't know how solid any of that is. So kind of refraining from getting too deep into those weeds. But yeah, he's definitely on the lookout. He's definitely looking for candidates. It should be by the end of this month, or maybe, who knows, maybe in a couple hours, we'll have a defensive coordinator. Could be any time between now and then.
There has been discussion, John Blau, and as there's probably always going to be, about hiring externally versus hiring internally, trying again to bring somebody up from within the program versus maybe trying to go find somebody who's got a little bit more experience running a Power 5 defense somewhere. Has there been any indication about which way Dabo Swinney might be leaning in that debate?
I would think, just again, looking back at the Garrett Riley hire from a couple of years ago, obviously the in-house hire didn't work with Brandon Streeter. He went and found a guy, Garrett Riley, who had several years of play calling experience. I would think that in a situation where you hired someone like Wes Goodwin, who didn't have any play calling experience and hadn't even been a position coach, that you'd want to go again in the opposite direction this time. So, I would be surprised if it was an in-house hire. I would think it's going to be somebody on the outside who has significant experience as a play caller. Whether that also comes with some former head coaching experience. You look at a guy like Matt Luke, that they brought in on the offensive line, when again, Thomas Austin, not that experienced, didn't work out. Went and got a guy like Matt Luke, who had been a head coach and an offensive line coach. Whether that's the case here, I would just say that the qualification that I'd be very surprised that this hire didn't have would be just several years of being a coordinator, and not somebody that you're training and trying to figure out, on the job. I think there's an urgency to get somebody who knows what they're doing, has done this before. Because again, you have a great offense coming back next year in 2025. You want to make sure that defense is solidified to give you a chance to make a run in the playoffs. So I think it's got to be somebody of that ilk.
John Blau with the Post and Courier joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. He does so every Monday at 8:40 a.m. Aside from a pretty funny video of Cade Klubnik snowing or sledding down the snow hill there at Clemson when we got that winter weather, John Blau, any other news or notes out of the Clemson football team that you think our fans might be interested in?
Not a whole lot. Obviously, again, Jeremiah Alexander last week added the transfer portal, so you're up to 3 incoming transfers, which Dabo Sweeney had 2 since the portal era, quote unquote, was officially started back in 2018, and those were backup quarterbacks. So obviously, continuing to add there, and we're also continuing to hear, when the 110 Society, Clemson's collective, signed somebody for the next year, they tweeted out and. We're starting to learn that there aren't a whole lot of spots left on this roster because even Tyler Venables, who was a 5th-year senior, was signed to an NIL deal, so he's coming back for his 6th year. We're waiting for DeMonte Capehart, defensive tackle, who could potentially have a 6th year if he's able to get a waiver for the 2021 season where he only played 5 games, part of that because of injury. He might be back for a 6th year. So the roster really, coming into complete form, not a lot of spots to continue adding, unless obviously in the spring portal window if people leave. But the roster just very much getting filled out and getting, to its final form for the 2025 season.
John Blau joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. All right, John, let's talk a little basketball here for just a minute from now. We talked last week that Clemson was about to hit a very interesting part of the schedule as ACC play begins in earnest. You ended up, after the loss to South Carolina, getting 3 wins in a row against Wake, Stanford, and Cal on the road at Louisville. That one, a 10-point loss, didn't go the way you wanted, but came back, rebounded with a 20-point win at home against a Florida State team that sure isn't Leonard Hamilton's best so far, but 11-5. They're going to be probably a 500 to maybe slightly above team in the ACC, and Clemson puts them away convincingly. What statement did Brad Brownell's squad make when squashing the Noles by 20 at the crib?
Yeah, it was an important game, sneakily important, because you got outplayed and looked a little honestly outclassed at Louisville. Louisville just looked like the more energetic, athletic team, and again, like you said, this isn't the best Florida State team, but Leonard Hamilton teams are long, they're athletic. This team was no different. And to really shut them down offensively, make it hard for Watkins, their best scorer, to really get going. And, the fans were booing him every single time he touched the floor. So he's getting harsh treatment from the crowd, from Clemson themselves. And I see Chase Hunter, just the way he continues to play. He's just been so consistent this year. You used to see it in bursts with him in the NCAA tournament, obviously, but he's only failed to score in double digits 1 time this season. And then to get 25 and hit 5 and 9 from 3, just really impressive from him. And so, to come back and after that loss of Louisville, beat a team by 20 at home, that's what you want to see, especially. Again, like you talked, it's a very interesting part of the schedule. You go to Georgia Tech now on the road, a weird, really late 9 p.m. game. I guess a struggling Georgia Tech team. That's one of those games you do not want to lose. You want to stay perfect in those quad 3, quad 4 games like Clemson is right now. That's one kind of hurdle they have to get over. And then, playing Pittsburgh on the road, a team that just lost to Louisville, just lost to Duke, a really good ACC team, but kind of in that same mix as you. And Louisville, you're kind of all the same, kind of like little pod behind Duke that obviously has the best player in the country, potentially the best player in the country, Cooper Flagg. You got back in the right, going back in the right direction, back in the win column, and now you got to keep that going here this week.
John Blau talking to us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. John, I was going through and looking. This team put up 28 3-pointers against Florida State. They went 13 of 28 when it was all said and done. This is also a team that for the past couple of years, obviously fans have gotten pretty accustomed to seeing work in the paint, playing inside out basketball. I went back and looked at a couple of the other games from the last few weeks, and it seems that this team is going to shoot roughly two dozen and some change three-pointers per game. Do you think that is going to kind of be a part of the identity of this team, or are they still working on figuring out how they're going to replace the talent they lost underneath?
Yeah, I think they want to play through the paint still. I mean, Victor Lock-in, when he's not in foul trouble, and he was very much in foul trouble and has been the last few games, they still want to get the ball inside and establish that. But they just don't have the post depth that they've had previous years. Obviously, they had a guy like TJ Hall last year and the last couple of years, but they don't really have anybody beyond, Lock-in and obviously Ian Shefflin, but he dealt with a calf strain. Now he's got some back spasms. He hasn't been 100% healthy. So really, the perimeter game is important for this Clemson team. If Chase Hunter is hitting threes the way he is, Jaden Zachary's a guy who can hit some threes. Jake Heidbreder has really kind of emerged a little bit off the bench as a guy who can also hit some threes. So they have potential to be a team that can, like you said, take a couple dozen threes, make about 10, 11, 12, 13 of them. That would obviously really help their offense. But at the same time, I do think a Brad Brownell team is always going to have an identity to a certain extent of trying to establish in the paint, just because that's the way they like to play. They like to play physical. They like to bring it to you. And so I wouldn't expect that to go away completely. But at the same time, I think that potentially shooting three balls are really a strength of this team if they can continue to hit them.
John, next 4 games, 3 of them on the road, at Georgia Tech, at Pitt, at Virginia Tech, with a Syracuse home game stuck there in the middle. Pitt, the best of these 4 teams. The other 3, Georgia Tech, Syracuse, Virginia Tech, all hanging out around 500, including the non-conference record on the season. How important do you think it is going to be for Clemson basketball to have a solid run of 4 games, especially when they've got to be on the road for 3 of them?
Oh, yeah. Again, it's trying to continue to differentiate yourself. I really do think, Clemson, SMU, Louisville, maybe if you want to throw North Carolina in that mix, they're all kind of jockeying for that spot behind Duke. Duke's got Cooper Flagg, and it's just, they're going to win a lot of games just so they have an incredibly talented potential number 1 overall pick on that roster. So, they're all kind of similar. And so you have to beat the teams that you're, good enough to beat, and you got to beat Georgia Tech, you got to beat Syracuse, you got to beat Virginia Tech. Obviously, Pitt's going to be a tough game. I mean, that's a good squad. Again, kind of in that same mix with Clemson. But you can't trip up. I mean, the one thing right now that's really good on Clemson's NCAA tournament resume, again, like I said, is quad 3 and quad 4 games are combined 9-0. All their losses are quad 2 and quad 1, which, according to the committee, is a quote unquote good loss. So as long as they keep that resume kind of clean and you don't dirty it with some bad losses, you got a pretty good chance to make the tournament. But you obviously have to take care of business, and any of these teams on any given day is capable of beating you if you don't play well.
John Blau covers the Clemson athletic department for the Post and Courier. He joins us every Monday to give us the latest news, notes, and info out of Clemson, South Carolina. John, my man, I appreciate it, buddy. Enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy a hopefully relaxing weekend before the Natty, big dog.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks, Rob.
Anytime. John Blau, Post and Courier. You can follow him on X at John Blau, JON_BLAU. Ladies and gentlemen, just like that, 3 hours in the books. When we come back, never too early, let's go ahead and start looking ahead at the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. Take a look at some of the matchups we've got shaped up and see if they're maybe an upset on the horizon here, there. We also got to break down tonight's contest between the Vikings and the Rams. All of that coming up in the next hour after Lonzo Shefty's Your Feelings with this Sports Flash. Getting deep in here.
I don't know what feelings are, but I'm going to mess with you. 5 of the 6 wild card games have been determined in the NFL. The Houston Texans are moving on after knocking off the Chargers 32-12. Justin Herbert tossed 4 interceptions, while C.J. Stroud had 282 yards. The Ravens move on with a 28-14 win over the Steelers after rushing for 299 team yards. The Bills dominated the Broncos 31-7. The Packers season is over after a 22-10 loss to the Eagles, in which Saquon Barkley rushed for 119 yards, and the Commanders finished off Tampa Bay 23-20 with a walk-off field goal. The final game is tonight when the Rams face the Vikings in Arizona. Make sure you tune in tonight at 6:30 as the Furman Paladins take on the Wofford Terriers. It's Furman versus Wofford right here on your home for Furman Paladins basketball. It's us. It is the Fan Upstate. So, whilst you were talking to John Blau, I decided to go ahead and mess with the text line.
Yeah.
And so it gave me a different email address, which is fine.
Okay.
For my because they keep mixing up my email addresses.
Yep.
So I was able to get in and put in a new password, and now I have access only to the Fan Upstate.
Nice. Just like you said.
And no drop down. But
Just like you said.
but then I checked, and my old email and password work for Word. So I just have to do separate. I mean, you know. No, I can't.
After 30 years of doing knee and hip replacements, Dr. Mitchell Scheintuck thought there had to be a better way, and that led him to regenerative medicine.
I was one of the first orthopedic surgeons to do it.
Now, after 20 years of successful orthobiologic treatments, lots of clinical data, research, and teaching, Dr. Scheinkup is National Medical Director at QC Kinetics.
They've done an amazing job of becoming the most significant orthobiologic and regenerative medicine practice in the United States. QC is so far ahead of the game in its science, its protocols, its people, its facilities.
So if you have chronic pain from arthritis and you want to avoid drugs and surgery, call the experts in this revolutionary field, QC Kinetics.
To give patients real lasting relief from pain, that's what I live for. That's my mission.
Get your free consultation now. Call QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772. 864-448-3772.
Bourbon and Bacon Fest, Friday, January 17th at Judson Mill, downtown Greenville. Sample bourbons and whiskeys from well-known distilleries while feasting on bacon-themed bites from top restaurants. Text BACON to 72341 or visit
The
Text the data rates may apply.
We've got
Stop overpaying and start saving with SingleCare. It's easy. Find your prescription on SingleCare.com. Show the coupon at the pharmacy and start saving. SingleCare works at pharmacies nationwide and it's completely free to use, whether you have insurance or not. So the next time you fill a prescription, check SingleCare to make sure you're getting the best price. Take control of your prescription costs. Go to SingleCare.com or download the free app today.
Mornings can start feeling the same. Wake up, brush teeth, go to work. But with breakfast from Wendy's, it's like wake up, brush teeth, bacon it with a
Uh-oh. James has disrespected the Chiefs. Unbelievable. The audacity, James.
Sorry. When you're ready for a fresh wake-up call, gotta be Wendy's. Participating in US Wendy's during breakfast hours.
Wire to wire with Diesel and Cole Mason. Turn on, leave on.
On this day, June 25th, 1984, one of the best songs Freakin' ever was released. Diesel, I'm a little upset with you today. You did give me some bad news. Man, I don't know if it'll sit well with me. Everybody loves Prince, right? Is there anybody that doesn't love Prince?
Purple rain, purple rain.
It's overrated. Overrated. When Doves Cry, better song. Little Red Corvette, better song. Tell
style, the song that he wrote for Batman was a better song. Do you think it's better than Purple freaking Rain? There's nothing better, man. You said Purple Rain's better than When Doves Cry? Yeah. This is the best one he wrote. This is the best one.
With Diesel and Cole Bryson.
Turn on Lethal.
Purple Rain is better than When Doves Cry. Probably, and it's a little more sentimental if you watch the movie because of the meaning of the song at the end of the movie. Because his dad had just tried to commit suicide and all that kind, and he found the music and did all. Yeah. What if Diesel's ever seen the movie?
Good question.
I think it does affect how you listen to any song from there because you
Without a doubt.
remember exactly where it appeared in the movie, including "Let's Go Crazy" and how that was made fun of by the time. And when he almost got fired for doing Darwin Nikki.
And away we go into the final hour of the show. The Rob Brown Show is right here on the Fan Upstate. Rob, Lonzo, you. Be a part of the show. 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. Give us a call on that number or shoot us a text on that number, 844-326-3663. Today's text line poll question of the day. Very simple one. When football ends in about 4 weeks from yesterday, which sport would you like to see have increased discussion on the show? Here are your options. Baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, off-season football, or other. And here's how you vote. First, you open up a brand new text. Second, you type in the number 844-326-3663. And then you text us the word baseball, the word hockey, the word soccer, the word basketball, the word football, or the word other followed by the sport that you would like to see more of. Baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, football, or other. And you go, wait a minute, Robbie just said once football's over. That is correct. If you believe football should not decrease in conversation time and coverage on the show, you believe we should just roll into off-season football immediately, then text football.
So you don't mean we're going straight into UFL?
I mean, I want to say that I'm going to try again this year.
Good for you.
I want to say I'm going to try again this year. I tried last year. I made it like 2 weeks, like being a regular viewer of the UFL last year. And then it fell out. And I'll tell you what the biggest problem is for me. This is just me. The biggest problem for me is I'm a basketball guy. I love the sport of basketball. And when football season's over, where are we on the calendar? We are final third of conference basketball season. We are getting to the point where resumes are being solidified for March Madness. In the NBA, where are we? We are getting ready for the playoffs. Teams are starting to realize here's what we're going to have to do in order to make it into the dance and are starting to put themselves together. I am a big basketball guy. And when it comes down to it, I'm going to watch the highest level of college and professional basketball before I watch the second highest level of professional football, even though I do think it is important to stay tuned into football in the spring with the UFL because there's a lot of young cats, a lot of practice squad caliber players that are going to go out there and are going to try to make a name for themselves. There every year we have a couple of UFL dudes who end up making the jump up to the NFL. I want to see them. I want to see what new rules that the UFL is, as they have been, the experimentation ground for the NFL. Remember, that's where they tested out the new kickoff rule, was in the UFL. That's where they developed it. That's where they tested it. And sorry about that. Where we are, Zoe.
Not very tactical.
Yeah, no, I missed the button. Where we are now, this deep into the season, one more game to put away round 1 of the NFL playoffs. I feel like the first 2 or 3 weeks, it took some real getting used to the new kickoff rules. And now I think we're in a spot where I'm like, that's just the game, right? Like I looked at him at the beginning and I'm like, I don't know, man, this is going to change the game. It's going to have a different feel. It's going to be a different vibe. And now we are 2 rounds deep in the playoffs. And I feel like most other things, I'm just kind of at the spot where I'm like, all right, that's football, right? It hasn't dramatically changed the game in any way, shape, or form other than the kickoff.
I think the thing that's more impactful through the whole rule change with kicking is the onside kick rule. I think that's more, I mean, that you have to declare it and you can only do it in what, the fourth quarter. And
you got to be down.
Yeah. I think that's more impactful than the kickoff is. And I don't understand all the rules still yet for the kickoff, but I'll get it eventually. How many flags have been thrown because it's not in the drop zone?
At least a couple. I know there's been at least a couple. It happened it happened against the Saints at one point, where somebody, I don't know if it was a shank or if they were just trying to like hit a line drive that dug into the ground in the landing zone, right? Because you got that big open territory between the return team line and the return man. And I do wonder, like, we haven't really seen anybody do it yet, which is, I think, to some degree unsurprising. But, like, I'm going to assume, like, at some point there's going to be a kicker who tries to figure out a way to hit a worm burner that rockets at just above ground level past the return line and then digs in and starts taking wicked bounces all over inside of the landing zone to kind of freak out the return men a little bit, right? See if they can maybe cause them to miss picking up on the ball or, you know, start to get afraid of it, but you got the ability to call for a touch. I don't know. I'm interested to see. But I think this point in the season, we've all just kind of like, we just live in this new kickoff era and we're all cool with it. We're all good with it. Here's a fun thing. I know there's not a ton of Steelers fans in the area, but I know that there are Steelers fans in the area. Mike Tomlin and the Steelers lose 0 playoff wins. And what are we on? 6 consecutive years now? No playoff wins, winning seasons, all of them, but no playoff wins for the Steelers. And there was a conversation going on in the background about, is it time for the Steelers to divorce from Mike Tomlin? And I think it was Rex Ryan, I don't know, whoever it was, floated the idea of a head coaching trade with the Dallas Cowboys. Mike McCarthy to Pittsburgh, straight up for Mike Tomlin to Dallas. And a bunch of the folks that were making this argument, which I have landed on, if I was the Steelers, I think I'd pull the plug on the Mike Tomlin era. I don't think you're going anywhere. I don't know that I'm trading for Mike McCarthy to make it happen. I don't know if that's the guy I'm pulling up. I think I'm going to try to.
There's a proposal out there of a double trade between Pittsburgh and Dallas.
Oh, we'll send you. Let me guess it.
I guess it would just be a trade.
Tomlin. And, you mean like a
coach's
head
trade.
coach? Yeah. I think it was Rex, but I heard a lot of people that were going, oh, you know, like Tomlin's a culture builder, right? Like that's the narrative around Mike Tomlin. He's a culture builder. He's going to come into the locker room. He's going to get everybody on the same page. He's going to get everybody clicking together. That's all well and good. And then George Pickens took to the podium after the Pittsburgh Steelers lost to the Baltimore Ravens. George,
you've been with this offense now for 3 years. Have you seen signs of growth, and how much more does this team still need to grow offensively?
Yeah, I've seen signs of growth for sure. From past, the first year I've been here. just way more growth for sure.
Does that make you optimistic going forward?
Nah.
Nah. George, you've been with this offense for 3 years now. Have you seen some growth? Yeah, I've seen a bunch of growth. Yeah, we're better. We're better now. Like we've grown. We're getting better. We're playing better. We're playing well together. That's awesome, dude. Does that give you some optimism about what this team could be? Nah.
Is that a scheme thing? Is that the coach? Or maybe he just doesn't like the quarterback
I just think
that's
he
playing.
wants out.
I think he just doesn't like the quarterback that's playing.
No,
right now.
you don't like the quarterback that's playing right now.
I'm not alone, as usual. Not
sure,
alone.
I'm not saying you are. I'm saying even if we know you're not alone, you don't get to just say that's what he's complaining about.
We're speculating. You're speculating. I'm speculating. My speculation is that he doesn't like the quarterback.
Sure, which may very well be it. And I'll tell you, I mean it. I have defended Russell Wilson. I can also tell you, I wouldn't be friends with Russell Wilson. He's a cornball. All right? He's the most plastic, manufactured, corporatized quarterback of all time. And I include Tom Brady in that. Like, he's a, I don't want to say he's a fraud, but he's phony. He's phony baloney, as my mother would say. He's phony baloney, and I don't like it. That being said, I think George Pickens, George Pickens, the guy that at one point watched a defense pick off a deep ball. Do you remember what he did after that? He just ran over and suplexed a guy. Not tried to tackle the guy with the ball now that he's on defense. No. He went up to a dude who was behind the ball and just slammed him to the ground. This is the same George Pickens that has, on at least 2 occasions, after a play was over, jumped up into the air and Macho Man Randy Savaged a dude, elbow dropped it. This guy's a lunatic.
Okay, the things that you've just said, I don't get why there's a problem. First of all, when an interception is thrown, you're supposed to hit somebody, right? Are you supposed
the
to...
guy who did the intercepting, he is a wide receiver, not a defensive back. You go get the guy that has the ball, not tackle a guy who is behind the guy that has the ball. You have blocked yourself. You're the fastest guy on the field. See that guy with the ball that's on the other team going the other way? Go get that guy. Go suplex that guy. That's the guy you hit, George.
Unless there's a guy on the other team that you don't like and you see the opportunity to hit him and you can go, oh, my bad, I was trying to hit the ball carrier.
Shout out Marshawn Lattimore, who left the Saints and apparently lost all his superpowers to stop Mike Evans. But we'll talk about that later. I just love that this cat got on a mic after a post game, was straight up asked, hey, dude, you guys have been together. You're getting better. You feeling better? Do you have some optimism? No. Not no. Not, yeah, we're developing. Not nope. No, but we'll see. Nope. Not even nope. Straight up, and I quote directly, no. No. Do you understand how out you are on a concept to go, no? Not no. Not nope. Not no, sir. Not yet. Not no. No.
I've nodded before. So yeah.
Sure.
I get it.
When you gnaw somebody, you are not just saying no. You are saying no, and I think the thing you said is stupid.
Yes.
Right?
Definitely.
It is the bless your heart of no.
For sure.
When you drop a gnaw on a dude, you are straight up saying not only your question, but you too. Hey, George, you guys been together 3 years. Does that give you some optimism? You guy. You and your question. That's incredible. If I got called down to the boss's office after the show, which I might, you never know. It's Monday. If I got called down to the boss's office after the show and he said, hey, Rob, how would you feel about doing this on your show tomorrow? And I went, no. He'd be like, do you work here anymore? No. George Pickens just basically said, yo, your question, and the Steelers as a whole. You got to get rid of that cat now, right? And the thing is, the reason I bring it up is because I heard a couple of different people saying you got to fire Mike Tomlin and move on because he's lost the locker room. Listen to George Pickens.
George, you've been with this offense now for 3 years. Have you seen signs of growth, and how much more does this team still need to grow offensively?
Yeah, I've seen signs of growth for sure. From past, the first year I've been here, just way more growth for sure.
George, does that make you optimistic going forward?
Nah.
A lot of people are saying, see, look, Mike Tomlin has definitely lost the locker room. I don't know if that's true. I can't say I don't think it is. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know. I think there's probably a lot of Steelers really frustrated with the results. What I do know is this. He may have lost the locker room. He never had George Pickens. That kid's crazy.
See, I disagree. I think that his sounded exactly the way it like Mike Tomlin delivery. It was a perfect. If you said Mike Tomlin said that, I would believe it. His delivery,
maybe.
Everything is just like his coach.
But again, I think if you rolled up to, and Mike Tomlin's the king of the eye roll and walk away from the podium, right? We've seen him do it this year, where somebody goes, what do you think about next week? And he just eye rolls and leaves the podium. That's one thing. George Pickens was asked, do you have any optimism in the offense moving forward? And he said, nah. George Pickens is on the offense. That's his unit. If Zoe and I get called down to the boss's office, I can do this. I'm a professional.
Over your inability to say boss's office.
If we got called down to the boss's office after the show and the boss was like, hey, Rob, you feel like the show's going pretty well? And I went, nah. Lonzo would hit me in the back of the head with a notepad. What are you doing, dude? What are you doing, you moron?
No, I would say I told him to step up, boss. I don't know what he's doing.
No.
Holding up my end over here. But Rob Brown, nah.
Lonzo said, Rob, we don't have to go to break yet. And I said, nah. Yeah, we do. Shout out to Skrilla. He said, morning, Rob, taking my 7-year-old daughter to school and we were listening and she turned to me and said, Dad, why is he yelling? No, I'm not yelling. This is just how I talk. Haven't you seen my movies? Deep Blue Sea? That's Dave Chappelle, ladies and gentlemen, from the Chappelle Show.
Was it? Yeah. Wow. It was just like he was sitting in the room.
I know. I'm very good at this. No. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show with the Fan Upstate.
Here's the Carolinas' most trusted forecast and the Fan Upstate. For today, we'll have cloud cover to start, gradually clearing skies into the afternoon.
For today, we're going to have cloud cover, so you cannot see the impending doom of asteroids about to hit the planet. The temperature at time of impact, very hot.
Facing Penn State Athletic Director Patrick Kraft and the entire Nittany Lion fan base. James Franklin boasts monumentally impressive stats while serving as head coach of Penn State. But for most fans, it isn't about the games he's won, it's about the few he's lost. Specifically struggling against the best teams in the game. Franklin's teams are 1-15 against top 5 opponents. In sports, there are no guarantees.
Oh, he definitely would have called him Rod, Kane, for sure. And then Rob's defense would be, I'm not Rod. And then the boss would say, well, why are you here? Because it's the Rod Brown Show, not the Rob Brown Show. Which, by the way, all the imaging is a lie on the screen and everything. Because it's not the Rob Brown Show, it's the Rod Brown Show.
I'm 100% going to make a background screen with Hot Rod Show. I'm going to make it like with a like chrome blue with a red firebolt across the
Yeah,
front of it.
yeah. Come on in and join the fire.
Let's put those two things together, shall we? At the 2024/25 Bourbon and reschedule. That just gave us more time to make it bigger and better than ever before. It is January 17th.
Believe it or not, James, those who create enjoy creating. So it might be considered fun to redo everything. I've been through many redos. My favorite redo was on WORD when we got rid of the point. When it was 106.3, it's now 98.9. But when it was 106.3 and they decided to get rid of the point. So I had to go through all the imaging and just remove the word point. That was fun. Just when you think you got everything, a point gets through. And you never want a point to get through. So when you redo everything, can you say with Lorenzo?
The Hot Rod Show with Lorenzo.
Got to bring that back.
Right now, during Mattress Firm's semi-annual sale and clearance, save up to $500 on Tempur-Pedic, plus get a $300 instant gift. Get matched at Mattress Firm. Sleep at night. Restrictions apply. See store website for details.
Chris Stapleton's All-American Roadshow. June 4th at Bon Secours Wellness Arena, Greenville, with special guests. Chris Stapleton's All-American Roadshow. Tickets on sale Friday at LiveNation.com. Presented by Live Nation.
Is that the movie trailers guy doing that spot?
It sounded like it.
Yeah.
97.7 FM, 1330 AM, Greenville. 97.1 FM, 950 AM, Spartanburg.
Listen on your phone, download the Odyssey app and search The Fan Upstate.
There's a whole lot more to know about sound if you really want to go into the subject.
Your smart speaker. Just say play 97 The Fan Upstate. On your HD radio at WFBC HD3. There's just one more thing. And on your computer at
TheFanUpstate.com.
Early birds get the sports scoop.
I want to go back to something that I played earlier in the show, back during the audio blitz. If you missed that, every morning at 8 o'clock, we give you the best sound that we have heard from the past 24-ish hours in the sportosphere. I want to play a clip that took place on ESPN's Get Up. They were discussing Bill Belichick's hiring as the head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels. Now, there was a discussion that started circulating this past weekend about Bill Belichick apparently being considered for some NFL head coaching jobs. There is a big rumor going around right now that with Tom Brady being a voice in the Raiders organization now, and the Raiders firing, to some shock, Antonio Pierce after just 1 year as the permanent head coach, that Tom Brady may get into the year of Mark Davis and get him on the horn with Bill Belichick to come out and coach the Raiders. And then, of course, there's a secondary discussion of, well, if Hoodie comes to Vegas and the Raiders stink, would Brady come out of retirement to play football for him as a player owner? And that's all dumb and no, but we'll come back to that later. The discussion was, would the Raiders, especially if Brady is in the ear of Mark Davis, would the Raiders take that risk? Would the Raiders decide to make that push? And my answer was no. I don't think Tom Brady's getting Bill Belichick is getting another NFL job. I think the hoodie is done. I think the hoodie burned all the bridges on his way out. I think the fact that the Patriots fired him, the Falcons and the Jets moved on past them, interviewed him, but then did not hire him. Instead, both of them kept or hired a let's be honest, like a C-tier candidate head coach, which you got to do sometimes. The Saints are about to hire like a L-list candidate head coach. I put in my application. I've coached like 4 teams to multiple Super Bowls on Madden. I'm pretty good. I don't think there's a door for hoodie. I don't think teams are even willing to roll the dice. So they got into a conversation, and noted loud talking person Stephen A. Smith said that that Belly had made a mistake, that hoodie should have held out, that hoodie should have waited for a bigger job in a bigger market, and yada, yada, yada. Which, honestly, of all the takes he has had, is not one of the worst ones. I don't know what the ceiling is for North Carolina football, but I know that if Hoodie is going to raise the ceiling to where a lot of people think it's going to be under him, he's got a hell of a lot of work cut out in front of him, right? And Stephen A. Smith went on to say, a lot of people are treating this like the hire of Deion Sanders at Colorado. It's not. It's not the same thing. And I don't even disagree with that, to be honest with you. But I did find the take a little bit, I'll use the word disrespectful to North Carolina. And of all the voices on that show, Molly Kieram is not the one I expected to get after Stephen A. Smith. And not only did she, but she did with something that I have talked about on this show and every show for a very long time.
I think you're completely wrong. Colorado was terrible before Deion Sanders got there, and it became appointment viewing. True football fans, this is going to be appointment viewing to see what Bill Belichick does. I think you're 100% wrong on this.
Molly, respectfully, I don't care. Let me be very, very clear. I don't care, and I'm going to tell you why. Because it's only going to last. He ain't prime time in terms of personality. Bill Belichick is going to go back to being the Bill Belichick we saw with the New England Patriots. Year 1, we'll watch him. But after that, please stop it.
As long as you win, and they're going to watch. The whole time he was in New England, everybody tuned in.
Did people not watch Clemson?
You know that, Jay.
Did people not watch Clemson with Dabo Swinney when they were rolling?
It's not sexy enough for you. Stephen A. is all about box office. He wants every free agent to go to the Lakers. He hates small markets. It's just not sexy enough for him. So this is through Steve. This is through. It's like every time there's a good player that's in like Milwaukee or wherever, you're like, bring him to New York. Go to the Knicks. Go to the Lakers. Let's have LeBron and Steph play together. No, let me finish my point. You don't care about small markets, and for you, it's always box office. You're a New Yorker that's an Alabama fan. It's just not sexy enough for you, but you're seeing it through your lens and not through all football players. I know you don't care about my opinion.
Yeah, everything she said.
Yeah, Molly's gone.
Everything she. Oh, I'm not saying you're wrong about that.
Yeah, she's gone.
I'm not saying you're wrong about that.
And maybe she's tired and ready to move on and decided she'd speak up finally over the obvious.
Yeah, he took that, if I may borrow a quote from him, personally. Like, you could tell. At the end, and it got cut off there, but at the end of that clip, he was like, that doesn't give you the right to come after me like that. I'm like, yeah, it does, dog. It kind of does. And she's kind of right. And again, this is something that it may just be because it is something that, bothers me personally, because I am a victim of Stephen A. Smith's hyper box officeization of sports. But I firmly believe Anthony Davis left the New Orleans Pelicans because Stephen A. and people like him kept talking about how you can make more money and be a more famous person if you play in LA or New York. And he forced his way out, and he forced his way to LA, and the Pelicans got sent reeling. And then they land on Zion Williamson. Here comes this monster out of Duke. This kid's going to change the face of the franchise. And the first year, building an entire new team around the identity of this once-in-a-generation superstar, at least he was supposed to be. The very first offseason, Stephen A's like, why don't you get him up out of there? Get him to New York. He should be a Knick. He could. I don't disagree with Molly Qerim. In fact, I fully support Molly Qerim in this discussion. And here's why. Sports is best. And I think we've learned that with these college football playoffs. Argue with me if you think I am wrong. I think sports is best when there is parity. In order for there to be parity, sports has to be on a level playing field so that teams or schools or franchises or whatever that are in smaller markets can compete with teams that are in bigger ones, right? What has been college football's primary issue preventing parity for a very long time? It is the fact that big market, big conference schools get all of the resources, and there was no way to level the playing field for smaller schools. Now there is. Now there is room to level the playing field for the, not, again, when I say small, I don't mean small like FCS level, but like for FBS level schools to kind of level the playing field a little bit. Because now you can have all the conference resources in the world. But you, the school, can't give it to players. You can build them a barbershop. You can build them a slide in the locker room. You can build them a golf simulator. You can build them a bowling alley. You can build them whatever you want. But you can't give it to them. Other schools can now go out and fundraise with their NIL collectives. Other schools can now go out, fundraise with their NIL collectives. Now other schools can go out and say, hey, you may not get the barbershop or the bowling alley, but you will get an NIL deal here, and you will start. You will not have to go sit in Kirby Smart's offense for 2 years and develop and get no PT and then play for a year. You'll start immediately. Come on down, right? The playing field's leveled out a little bit. And now, even though we do have two, legacy schools in the college football playoff final, there was parity. It felt, at least to me, it felt like there was more parity. You still ended up with two big dogs, but there was more parity. When every time a player breaks out in a small market baseball team, Stephen A is screaming for them to be a Met. Whenever a team breaks out for the Pelicans or the Milwaukee Bucks, and Stephen A. Smith starts screaming for them to become a Knick or a Laker, it's wildly frustrating to those of us that are fans of small market teams, because what inevitably ends up happening is that they Anthony Davis you. What inevitably ends up happening is that at some point those voices get in their head, they talk to them, and they go, he's probably right here. I got limited earning potential in New Orleans, Louisiana. I got a community that loves me, but I got limited earning potential here. If I go to New York City, they'll put me on the billboard that's the size of a building. I can make money with that. Can't do that in New Orleans. If I'm in New York City, I'm on national television all the time. In New Orleans, I'm on a national game when New Orleans plays New York. That's basically it. I'm going to go there. So for Molly Qerim to call out this box officeization of sports, I think it's good. And I think it needs to happen more often. I've talked about this in the advertising approach to sports from league to league and worldwide. If baseball does nothing but put Dodgers Yankees on TV every Sunday night for Sunday Night Baseball, the sport won't grow, can't grow. But if they run a commercial across the Southeast that says, this Sunday night, the Atlanta Braves take on the Milwaukee Brewers live from Atlanta, Georgia, right? Like now you got a lot of reason for people who aren't going to watch Dodgers Yankees to tune in and stick with the sport moving forward. Again, it's not just Stephen A. Smith. There's a lot of other talking heads in the same boat. There's people over at Fox. There's people over at CBS that do the same damn thing, but he's the king of this.
People still left at Fox?
A couple.
Okay.
A couple. There's a handful that weren't named in the documents, if you will. Good on Malik Hiram, honestly. And I hope that Lonzo is incorrect and we don't sometime later on today get a random ESPN press report that says we want to thank Molly Karam Rose for all of her contributions to the network and wish her well in her future endeavors. I hope that's not the case. And again, Molly's job on that show has historically primarily been to act as a facilitator of conversation, a moderator, keep the show on the rails. She got spicy. She cooked a little bit here, and I respect her for it. All right, let's run to a break. When we come back, final segment of the day, I asked you the question, when football season comes to its conclusion in 4 weeks, what sport do you want to hear get more coverage on this show moving forward? Text one of the following keywords to 844-326-3663. Baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, off-season football, or other. Text baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, football, or other to 844-326-3663. When we come back, we will tally up your votes, and I will let you know what it is the upstate wants to hear. Text baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, football, or other to 844-326-3663. We'll take a look at those votes when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
On Sunday, prior to the game, the Hurricanes retired Eric Stahl's number down 2-0 midway through the third period. The Canes scored twice. Andrei Svechnikov's 15th goal of the season came on the power play. Then Seth Jarvis tied the game with 56 seconds left in regulation. They closed out a 3-game homestand that included wins over Toronto and Vancouver. Next up, a road game at Buffalo Wednesday night. Road game tonight for Campbell men's basketball. They visit Elon. The Camels are 7-9 overall, 2-1 in the CAA. Elon 11-5 overall, 2-1 in the conference. NC Central's home tonight against Delaware State. Both teams are 1-2 in the MEAC. South Carolina State plays host to Maryland's Eastern Shore. Classic Rock 101.1 is your home for Carolina Panthers play-by-play all season long. Download the Odyssey app, search the Fan Upstate, and listen anywhere on your phone. I'm Chuck Sanders with the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate.
We all hear the radio.
He's told to send an email to respond to the email to tell them that it still doesn't work. Watch them fix it, and it go back to only working on Word and not working on this station. I should just leave it alone.
It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-497-8091. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
He's not in the sports business. He's in the Stephen A business. That's a fact. That's a fact. And listen, ESPN's in bed with him for that. The fact that he's doing like fit check walkouts at NBA games kind of proves that.
Ooh, Smokey the Bugbear.
What?
Smokey the Bugbear. Only you can prevent dungeon fires. Kill the wizard first.
I like it.
Hologram trading card. One of the rarest. The last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it. And now everyone's asking. Ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wiper? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying. Just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
Buy a new house. You might say,
shut the front door.
Winning.
No, seriously. Shut the front door. We own this house now.
But you actually need to say,
like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
That's right. The local State Farm agent is there to help you choose the coverage you need.
Welcome to my crib. No one says that anymore, but I don't care.
So just remember, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. State Farm.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Here, it's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch every day from lunch to late night? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Why January has to be boring. Grab a bottle of Heineken 0.0 for zero-proof sips is all the flavor you love. Plus, they're just $3.50 during lunch when added on to any of our lunch combos.
The county just requested more electric charging stations.
Orders have really amped up at Able Electric.
We need 3 more at First in Maine, and we just got another hotel chain.
It's no shock. Able Electric needs able electricians.
Grocery store wants charging stations too.
And fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com.
Apologize for the lack of talking, but I had a really bad night, and Robin said so did he. So burnout is real.
Burnout is real, dude. We're gonna get through it. Always do. That's how we roll.
You need at prices you'll love, guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know it. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
I'm in a smoothie bar asking people if they'd switch smoothies with me for $574. Oh, I'll switch. So what about $574 if you switch your home insurance to Allstate? That's a headache. Nope, it's painless. Oh, so it's easy money. Yeah, check Allstate first, and you could save hundreds on quality home insurance today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Not available in every state. Based on the national average annual savings for new home insurance customers surveyed in 2023, to switch to Allstate and report savings. Savings vary.
From the Ingles Market Studio.
Punch your ticket to the best local sports. 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg. Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app. Text or call. One number does it all. 844-326-3663. That's 844-FAN-PHONE. This is the Rod Brown Show.
The Rod Brown Show continues right here on the Fan Upstate. Rob, Lonzo, you, 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. That's the number to call and text the show. Voting is closed on our text poll question of the day. I asked you, the Armada, the listening audience, when football season ends 4 weeks from yesterday, Super Bowl Sunday, and we move forward into the brave new world that is sports talk radio in the shoulder season of sports. What sport do you want to see get more coverage, more conversation on the show? Got our votes in, Lonzo. Here is how it shaped up. The last place votes were, what would you guess there's 2 of them. Which 2 came in last, Lonzo? Just out of curiosity.
What were the categories again?
Baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, off-season football, or other sports?
Last, I'm going to go with hockey. And next to last, I'm going to go with baseball.
Okay.
That's not necessarily my order. He told me to guess what I thought the order would be.
For sure. Here is the projected order of finish. Not projected order, the order of finish. Dead last, a 2-way tie between hockey, unsurprising, and off-season football. Yeah, that's what I said. I didn't know if football was going to finish first. I absolutely did not project it to finish last. Hockey and off-season football last. Second to last was other. And you guys were all over the damn map with that. Some of you were clearly trolling. Some of you said professional wrestling, which I don't care if you were trolling. Okay. So we had dead last, a 2-way tie between hockey and off-season football. Second to last was other sports. Then we had a 2-way tie for first and one in the middle. Second to first, so runner-up, shockingly was soccer. Soccer was runner-up. Basketball baseball and soccer tied. Baseball and soccer tied. Basketball was number one. Now, I will say this about basketball. Basketball was number one, but a solid chunk of the basketball votes, great one, came in for college basketball specifically, not the NBA. So that's fair. Those are two different sports, two different formulas, two different ways to look at basketball. I get it. Basketball was the vote getter, was the winner. But a chunk of the votes for basketball came along with basketball, but college, not NBA. And I get it. I understand it. That checks out. That makes sense. So the upstate wants, according to this poll, and we'll probably check in again when we get to the end of football season. The upstate, according to this poll, when football season comes to its conclusion, wants an immediate jump over to basketball season. Then when we get to April and it is opening day to pivot hard into baseball. And I will say this, as far as soccer being in a tie for second, I think that makes sense this year. I don't know if the vote would have been the same last year or next year, though, because we are approaching the World Cup here in these great United States.
Oh, joy. Another year of disappointment and people being all hyped up and ready to go, and then it doesn't happen, and then the coach get blamed, or everybody get blamed when it probably just comes down to not enough talent. I don't know, but now I know to prepare myself for this year.
I mean, it's 2026.
Oh, you made it sound like it was this year.
Well, because this year we have all the lead up tournaments. We have the Gold Cup.
Save what I
upcoming,
said, and we'll
the
replay
Nations
it next
League.
year.
I don't know, man. I got to tell you, I like what Mauricio Pochettino is doing with his team right now.
You just like saying his name.
Mauricio! I think you'll like it too, Zoe, and I'll tell you why. The Greg Berhalter method was play back, counterattack, right? Just out-athlete them, just sprint them down the field. Mauricio Pochettino has a very Argentinian soccer mentality. That means, great one, we're going to work the ball up the field, and if you come near us, we are going to throw our bodies into you and knock you to the ground.
All right, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. It's going to be a different looking team in 2026. We'll see how it plays out.
You have to change the makeup of what the team has been to get those kind of players?
No. I think, and this is one of the things that I think has presented a bit of a problem for this team. I think one of the things that has been a bit of a problem for this team has been that the manager in charge, which up before Mauricio Pochettino was Greg Berhalter. And Greg's coaching style, I don't think, really took advantage of the players that were there. And I think with your new manager, you have a guy who is a hell of a lot better at recognizing and diagnosing talent. I think you have a guy who is a hell of a lot better at putting the talent in the right position. You're going to see a lot more Christian Pulisic playing a holding mid instead of being asked to be a striker. He's going to be a guy who's allowed to utilize that creativity that Berhalter never really let him get into. I'm excited. I didn't mean to end with a whole soccer breakdown here, but the great one asked, and if the great one wants to talk about soccer, we're talking about soccer. And he did. And he does. He did and he does. Hey, national championship game is 1 week away. This is a fun stat. Notre Dame is 4-0 against Big Ten teams, Lonzo. Can you be the ones behind the one in 4-1? I'm saying yeah. I'm saying Buckeyes early. I reserve the right to change this, but I am saying Buckeyes early in this one. Zoe, I don't know if you've looked. I don't know if you've seen it. If you have, pretend that you haven't so you look like a stinking genius when you get this number on the button. If you haven't, I'm genuinely curious. What is the point spread for the national championship game? Great one.
I thought you said this morning 8 points.
Oh, did I say it this morning?
Yes.
Yeah, I did. Buckeyes favored by 8.5.
Even when people think I'm not paying attention, I am definitely paying attention.
8.5 points in a natty. Joey B pointed out something very interesting, and that is if you go look at the college football national championship games that have taken place over the past handful of years, there's something really interesting that you have to look at and pay attention to. And that is the fact that by and large, so the games have been blowouts the last few years. Like a lot of the national championships have been absolute blowouts over the past couple of years. And now we come into a national championship game that has an 8.5 point spread to it. If Ohio State does indeed blow out Notre Dame, do you think that changes the format? Do you think that gets anything changed? Or we just look at it and go, hey, two best teams got there and one was just that much better?
How are they going to change that?
I don't know.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
I warned you I hit the wall. So
That's
I mean,
all right. We're gonna get you there.
I was stuck in Vibes world. All right, the first thing that's Xing is Rey Mysterio.
Rey Mysterio. Listen, I don't know if this is why it's Xing, but I really hope that it is. There was a video that came out of what is purported to be a fight. I think it's a demo, but from China, where a dude hits a legitimate running Hurricane Rana on a dude. You sent me that video.
Yeah, it was a cop who took down a perp.
Yeah,
supposedly.
I think it was a demo. To be honest, I think it was a demonstration. But the dude freaking nailed a running Hurricane Rana, which is, let's be real, it's very impressive. I don't know if that's why he's trending.
Oh, for sure, that's why he's trending.
Okay.
Along with a bunch of other wrestling moves and things. And it's
the Eagles scored a touchdown and dude hit a pedigree on Cooper DeJean.
No. He attempted a pedigree.
Well, attempted a
he
pedigree.
did. No, you got.
It was pretty bad.
No, it's not his fault. I mean, it's
Cooper sold him pretty hard.
Yeah, it was the guy who he was pedigreeing.
Yeah.
You've got to sell that for your guy and make your guy look good, and he did not. Plus, it's got to be hard with the shoulder pads and everything.
Yeah, to get the arms hooked.
You've got to have your arms out wide to do that.
Yeah, that's tough.
If you haven't seen the video, you should look up cop wrestling move, and it probably should be the first thing that pops up.
Yep.
All right, the next thing it's Xing is Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
I have no idea what she's trending, to be honest. Is it her birthday?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, okay, I see you, Elaine. Can we point out Julia Louis-Dreyfus looks the same as she always has.
Yep, she looks a lot the same for sure.
She's a pretty lady. I will also say this. I'm genuinely interested to see how they continue to develop her character in the MCU because I really like the underhandedness.
Don't call her Val.
Yeah, also that.
Yeah, don't do that. Me too. Apparently, she's going to be a big part of Thunderbirds.
Here for it?
She is 64.
Also, I know it's a completely different character, tone, role, whatever. I've been watching Shrinking on Apple Plus. If you're not watching Shrinking, watch it. It's incredible. It is hilarious. It is Harrison Ford is the funniest person on TV. And for some reason, that makes me more excited about seeing him as Red Hulk.
That's next month, by the way.
I know. I'm jacked.
So I said Thunderbolts is Thunderbirds. I know it is Thunderbolts. It's not Thunderbirds is Thunderbirds are a go. Thunderbolts are the bad guy Avengers. All right. The next thing, speaking of superheroes, that is Xing, and the final thing that's Xing is the Flash.
I don't know why the Flash is Xing.
All right, so the Flash is Xing because the director of the movie that failed at the box office,
blame the fans,
said that people just don't like the Flash, the character.
That is dumb and wrong.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
that is dumb and wrong.
How many movies?
How is that
Yeah.
somehow, to me, that's worse than blaming the fans?
Well,
I mean, you are blaming
he
the
is
fans.
blaming the fans. Yeah, he
But
is.
you're blaming the fans with something that we all know is clearly incorrect.
Yeah, a lot of movies, cartoons, comics went bad when the Flash died because he was the sense of humor. He was, I mean, he was so much that kept those guys together. And yeah, I don't.
That's
get why
unbelievable. That's unbelievable.
Maybe you should just blame it on the weirdo star of the movie who wanted to be a cult leader and stuff. Maybe blame it on that.
I mean, so do I, but like pick a place and time.
No, he doesn't.
Pick a place and time. All right.
Rob does not want to be a cult
I do.
leader.
I want to be a cult leader of people who worship me and give me money. I ain't got there yet. Y'all have a great rest of your day.
No Kool-Aid.
Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. We'll see you back here tomorrow to do it all over again, but better on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later. All right, dudes and dudettes, I got a jet. Thank you all for being here. We got through it. We made it. We're set. I'm proud of us. High fives all around.
I'm going to self high five.
Bang! Have a lovely day. You're all spectacular people. Tell your friends about us. We're trying to get rich and famous. Goodbye.